11:30. It's live. Saturday Night Live, Monday Night Live. Call to order. And I just want to provide a little bit of a historical comparison to what happened back in 1918 during the Spanish influenza. I spoke to John Boylan. He's our provincial archivist. And John provided me an excerpt from Dr. Ed MacDonald's book, If You're Strong-Hearted, Prince Edward Island in the 20th Century. And it starts, the influenza arrived in Prince Edward Island in September, just in time to steal what little sweetness the approach of victory proffered. Mary Hare was one of the first to succumb. She fell ill while coming home from vacation in Boston and brought the virus back with her to Charlottetown. By the time she died, after an 8-day illness on October 2nd, the influenza was already spreading. By October 12, 1918, 1,617 cases had been reported in Charlottetown alone. 100 more were added the following day. The hospitals were overflowed. Doctors and nurses were overwhelmed. Exhausted by overwork, they were prey for the enemy they were treating. On Monday the 14th, the provincial health officer, and you would know him, Councillor Duffy, Dr. W.J.P. McMillan, Joe McMillan. He was the provincial health officer. He closed the province's schools, canceled church services, and banned all public gatherings. Then he too fell ill. By mid-February 1919, the influenza epidemic was petering out. Thousands of islanders had been infected and hundreds had died. In Somerset alone, more citizens had died from the flu than had been killed in the Great World War. There are no accurate statistics for the death toll from the influenza epidemic in Prince Edward Island, but the annual report of the Register of Births, Marriages, and Deaths provides a rough accounting. For 1918-1919, it lists 375 deaths from either influenza or pneumonia. So the epidemic in 1918-19 was brief, and it was, again, the Great War was the turning point. But look at today and what the Chief Medical Officer and her team has done. Let's just stay the course, and I think we're doing a great job, but that physical distancing, as we talked about earlier, is very, very important. Declaration of Conflict of Interest.
See none.
Okay, there's your agenda. Any additions, deletions?
I have one for University 550 University Avenue.
Oh, you have to declare a conflict of interest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your Worship?
Yes, sir.
As was said out earlier today, we are looking to add 2 resolutions to the Parks and Recreation Committee report for Council's consideration.
And they were sent out, Councillor Twill? Yes.
Yes, they were.
If I could, Your Worship, would you mind taking roll call first, please, just for the record?
I will.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, do you have those 2 additional resolutions from Parks and Recreation?
And yes, I do, Your Worship.
Okay. Roll call. Councillor McLeod.
Here.
Councillor Twill.
Here.
Councillor Yankoff.
Here.
Councillor Rivard.
I am here.
Councillor Duran.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
Here.
Councillor Bernard.
Here.
Councillor McCabe.
Here.
Councillor Duffy.
Here.
And Councillor Ramsey.
Here.
Okay. So the agenda, got a mover or a seconder to approve the agenda?
I'll move it, Your Worship.
Okay, seconded.
I'll second it.
Your
Councillor
Worship,
Yankoff?
there's a couple slight amendments under the Public Works. Item number 1 and number 2 under motions are being removed, Your Worship.
Would you repeat that?
Under Public Works, number 1 and number 2 are being removed, Your Worship, and they'll come back at a future date.
And those
Number
are
one and number two resolutions.
Correct,
resolutions 1 and 2.
correct, Your Worship.
Everybody get that?
Yes.
Okay, so 1 and 2 has been removed. No problem?
No problem.
Okay, all those in favor of the approval of the agenda?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so the adoptions of the previous draft minutes, you had the regular meeting of April 14th, and that was teleconferencing. Tonight we're doing it by video conference. Special meetings, April 22nd, 2020, and then we had a planning public meeting on April 28th. Do I have someone to move the adoption of those minutes?
I'll move, Your Worship.
Councilor Rivera move,
I'll second.
Councilor McCabe second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any business arising out of the minutes? Okay, hearing none, can we go to the first report? Planning and, Councilor Rivera,
Rory, how are you?
Yes, sir.
do you
Are you
plan
still
to
in
do
City Hall?
550 University right away? Or do you want to give just a summary of your report?
Okay, I can see the council
One second,
meeting
who's,
on Teams. I use Teams all the time and get along with it very well. But I
Wayne?
can't hear the volume on it today for some reason. And it keeps
Wayne?
telling me my speakers are not working.
Okay, just 1
we
second.
can't hear you, Your Worship.
Okay.
You hit the camera, Wayne? Wayne?
He said his speakers aren't working, so I'm guessing he can't hear us.
I'm in my office, yeah.
You hit the camera. You turn the camera on and back off?
Okay, thanks.
Someone go down and tell him that hearing his conversation. Okay, Councilor Rivera, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Your Worship. The planning board met on Monday, May the 4th, as well as Thursday, May the 7th. The copy of the planning reports and the minutes are included in your package. The Heritage Board did not meet in April, and the Design Review Board met on Thursday, April 23rd. And again, the copy of the Design Review reports are in your package. We have 2 resolutions tonight for council's consideration. And I do want to mention one thing before taking any questions. The application for 9 Pine Drive, I know that we received a number of emails or phone calls from people thinking that the vote was for tonight. I just want to add a bit of clarity. Last month, council had voted to defer until we were able to resume back to kind of a normal state and have a debate within the chambers. That was what the applicant had asked, and that's what council had granted. So anyone who is listening online thinking that we're going to be dealing with the 9 Pine Drive, we are not. And by the sounds of it, when council resumes in the chamber, which could be next month, that application will then be for council's decision. So with that, if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Councilor Twill.
Thank you for your report, Councilor Rivard. Recently, I've been contacted by constituents in the Confederation Street area, Gower, and the concern is that major development is taking place on Gower Street. Two large apartment buildings that the residents don't feel are consistent with the housing stock that's has been traditionally on Confederation Street and Gower, primarily single family. And I tried to get an analysis of the bylaw and when amendments were made. So the amendments to the bylaw first reading was back August 13th, 2018. And then second reading was September the 10th, 2018. So with these amendments, if my information is correct or accurate, basically a major development, especially the second building, which is referred to as the Gower, a major development in a primarily single-family neighborhood and community. And the residents were not consulted. We're not given the opportunity to make any comments because it is as of right for the developer. And these particular amendments have basically eliminated the people who have lived in these neighborhoods, and some of them have lived there for 50, 60, 70 years. And they're eliminated from the public consultation process. And this is very, very unfortunate that these major developments have taken place in these neighborhoods. It's compromised the integrity of the neighborhoods. It's compromised the predictability of the neighborhoods. It's compromised traffic in the neighborhoods. And it just seems that if you look at the trend over the last year or so, it's pro-development to the point where some residents are not even given the opportunity to be consulted, to have that collaboration, to make their recommendations and suggestions, or if they wish to oppose a development. And I think this is very unfortunate, and it puts the community in a very precarious, puts the community in a very vulnerable position. And I suggest all members of council to drive out to Gower Street to look at the development, drive up Confederation Street, and to see how this monstrosity of a building overpowers the residents that are living on Confederation Street, and yet they weren't given the opportunity because of the bylaw, and I believe it was due to those amendments. We're not professional planners. We're elected people. We're merely lay people, and we rely on our professional planners to do calculations when it comes to square footage and to see how a particular development fits in, in terms of whether or not it has the proper square footage. But having said that, that might be okay for the property itself. But the impact and effect that this particular development, I would argue other developments, have on these traditional neighborhoods like the Parkdales and the Sherwoods and old part of Charlottetown has had a devastating impact and effect. And I believe, in light of what's taking place on Gower Street with these two major developments, I believe we need to do a reevaluation of the bylaw, those amendments, and I would stress there's urgency with respect to an assessment and evaluation, and maybe we need to make amendments and go back to the way it was, because people are not happy. They've lived in these neighborhoods for a long, long time, and when a major development takes place in their neighborhood and they're not able to have a say, they don't understand, and they're very frustrated with, as of right for a developer, when they've been there for several decades and yet don't get to have a say as to what's taking place in their neighborhood and their community. It is their neighborhood, it is their community. And unfortunately, what's happening now is we're having development proceed and take place without any regard whatsoever for the community. Again, we're not professional planners. We rely on our staff to help us with that. But a development on a footprint where it's maximized to the nth degree, and yet the residents have no say. I believe, Councilor Rivard, we need to go back now, in light of what's taking place, we need to go back now and reassess and reevaluate what is taking place and look at those bylaws to see, maybe this is going to happen in other neighborhoods, and other neighborhoods are going to become very frustrated. But for residents not to have a say, I believe there's a deficiency in the bylaw and in the process.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Tweel. Councillor Rivard, do you want to take that back as a suggestion to the planning committee?
Well, Your Worship, if I can, there wasn't this. I just would like to speak to this. I mean, there wasn't any questions. I don't think that were really in that statement. But, I guess my question I would ask of Councillor Tweel is where exactly does he see development happening is my first question. Because as Councillor Tweel is aware, last year we had a 0.2% vacancy rate. We had a lot of pressure on us from people who needed all types of housing. And again, with the amount of urban sprawl that we have in Charlottetown, we have to look at finding solutions, I guess, for people to have a roof over their head. It's a human right. And with this building construction that we've been seeing in development, I mean, we saw a 1.3% vacancy right now, so we're heading in the right direction. We need to continue to build as the population grows. And I guess we need, Charlottetown's only so big. So to expect these kind of developments always to happen on the outside of the city, I think is unfair, because again, some of these developments allow people to be close proximity to downtown for walking if they don't have vehicles and things of that nature. Secondly, Your Worship, and I won't belabor this, but again, we have a zoning map for a reason, and if as long as you abide, or developers abide by those rules, again, keep in mind those zoning maps, the bylaws are approved by council. So we ask them to stay within the parameters that are outlined. If they do, then they're following by the rules. There shouldn't be public input, because the public input would have been during the time that the bylaws were being amended and changed, or if a variance is required. And in this case, it wasn't. So, or there might be a couple of amendments, but council approved them. So again, developer right versus public opinion. Sometimes, just like I said in the paper, there seems to be a lot of gray area in the middle. But anyways, Your Worship, I digress, and I'm not sure if there's a question to be answered. So,
If you want to put your first resolution on the floor.
I just have a question for those two resolutions.
Oh, okay. Go ahead there, Councillor Bernard.
Councillor Bernard, I'm just clarifying this. So, if there was to be a lot consolidation, if you're in a zoning area, an approved zoning area, but a lot consolidation is being requested, and the letters go out to residents within 100 meters still, correct, for a lot consolidation?
not always. I don't believe. I can ask. I can have one of my planners, but I don't believe it for lot consolidation. No, unless you're referring to a lot consolidation that may involve more, which may involve a rezoning or something of that place for one of the lots, then that would be different. But a straight consolidation is usually done at the staff level.
Okay, so if there's two lots and they're both zoned the same, and the person wants to put a large building up, he just needs to consolidate both those lots to be able to put his building up. That doesn't go to a public meeting. That doesn't go to consultation. That's just staff has the authority to okay that.
Correct.
Okay.
And Councillor Bernard, you know the history of this property that we dealt with back in 2004 with Carmen MacArthur.
Yeah, I'm not talking about this.
Just I know, but just that property. And the other issue was down in Brighton Road when Melanie McDonald did the development down there, and we looked at the lot consolidation, and then from that came a plan to send out notification that there was going to be a lots of consolidation, but no need to go to a public consultation.
Can I ask one question? Sorry.
Okay, Councillor McKay.
I know you, because you're going to go to your resolution, which includes, I'm just looking at our minutes that we had, where Deputy Cody had asked about the pavers, whose responsibility it was for pavers in the Pangolia. And I noticed in our agreement, it's not clearly stated, with the answer we were given, it is the applicant's responsibility if pavers are damaged. But that's not in the original agreement, so that might want to be added.
Yeah, let's just bring that up under the resolution.
Before we get to the resolution, Mayor Brown,
Okay.
I would like an opportunity to respond to Councillor Rivard.
Okay, and then we can go on. Okay, go ahead, sir.
When you look at the bylaw and what's taking place in this instance, and you can say that, well, we had a public meeting to amend the bylaw, unless people in a respective neighborhood know that a proposed development is affecting their neighborhood, they're not going to participate in a public meeting where amendments are made to a bylaw from a general perspective, unless a development is taking place in a respective neighborhood and letters quit within 100 meters, then they really have the opportunity to participate. But given what's taking place, and I'm not arguing against development, and they're not arguing against development. What they're saying is the development is at a scale with this respective neighborhood and community. And that's why I'm strongly recommending now, because this is taking place, this disparity and discrepancy is taking place, and residents, like I said, have lived in this community for 60 and 70 years. We're not given the opportunity to be consulted. I believe now's the time to go back and review the bylaw and those amendments, because it's overwhelming and overbearing the impact and effect that it's had in this neighborhood, and it's not fair. It's not fair. They're taxpayers, and they deserve to have the right to be consulted and state unequivocally whether they're in favor or they're not in favor.
And Councillor Twill, I'm sure that Councillor Rivard hears you loud and clear, and I'm sure that will go back to the planning committee when we meet next.
For your worship, I would ask that Councillor Twill, if he could, put something in writing to myself, articulating what you'd like to see, and I will take that back to the planning board.
Thank you, Councillor Rivard. Do you want to put the resolution up?
So I will put it on to read out to your worship, and the number one is resolve, moved by Councillor Vard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to allow the pergola for Fishbones Restaurant on Victoria Row under the conditions noted for the 2020 tourist season be approved, your worship.
Okay. And that's moved by Councillor Rivard, seconded by
Deputy Mayor Cody.
Councillor McCabe, do you have a question? Do you want to make your point now?
I do. Yeah, no, I was just going through the minutes there. I didn't know where we were because we were all over the pond there. Sorry.
Okay. You have it?
Yeah, I wanted to just make a note that in discussion, it was clarified in our minutes from the manager that if a paver was destroyed, it would be the responsibility of the applicant to repair the pavers, but that is not included in the agreement that's listed. So I just think that should be put in there before we agree to the agreement.
Okay, Councillor McCabe, thanks for your question. I believe when I was reading through the, I can't see them in front of me here, the amendments when we had our committee meeting, I believe it was maybe number 7. I don't know why I think that. It says number 8, that the pergola structure supports not be affixed to the street pavers in a manner that damages the bricks.
Correct. But nowhere
about,
does it say it's the responsibility, if they are damaged, that it's their responsibility to fix it. I just think that if you put that in, it just clears it up.
Okay, it's number 7. Okay, we can ask staff to amend that. I mean, there's talks in number 7 too. Is the staff will undertake an inspection of the right of way when the pergola is removed to determine whether any damage to the right of way has occurred. So we can add a couple of words.
Just clarity. Just clarity, and that way at the end of the day, it's clear.
Okay, I'll advise staff.
Thank you.
Call the question? Can we call the question?
Question's called.
Question's called. Okay. Could I ask, I'm just going to do a quick roll call. Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
Favor.
Councillor McCabe?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy? Councillor Duffy? Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy? Okay, I think he stepped away, so I'll put 9. Councillor Duffy? In favor?
He's muted.
He indicated yes, your worship.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, do you want to go to the second resolution there, Councillor Rivard?
I'll read it off, your worship. Moved by Councillor Rivard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request for a site-specific exemption in the industrial I zone of the zoning and development bylaw as it pertains to 550 University Avenue, PID 373126, in order to allow the proposed 9-story 355.4 meter dormitory residence be constructed on the property which exceeds the maximum building height in the industrial zone be approved, subject to the signing of the development agreement, Your Worship. And I should also note that Councillor Duran did declare a conflict, so I presume he stepped away, Your Worship.
He has stepped away. Mr. Kelly, where it says 9-story, it has in bracket 35.4 meters. Is that what you read?
That's what's on the motion, Your Worship.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think he read 355.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but it's 35.4.
Yeah.
Just don't tell people it's going to be a 350 meter
I'm sorry.
skyscraper.
35.4, Your Worship.
They'll be driving out there all day tomorrow and the next day. Okay,
Your worship,
any questions or concerns?
your worship,
Yes, there, Councillor
Twill.
Twill.
thank you. I think this is a great project. I think it's going to serve the university and the community well. I'm definitely supporting this development. There's a tremendous need for student housing, and I think this will go a long, long way. When we had the public meeting, I made a suggestion to Jackie Podgett, the Vice President of Finance and Vice President of the university, that now might be the time for the city and the university to explore the opportunity of an underground pedway for the students, the faculty, the administration, not only for the university, but also for Charlottetown Rural and the people that live in the Emmett Crescent area. As most of us are very well aware, there's been a number of accidents over the last 2 to 3 years. Making that intersection is only going to intensify the vehicle traffic, and this might be the right time. I believe it is the right time to at least explore that opportunity for an underground pedway to make it safer. Again, just to reiterate, for the student body, for the faculty, the administration, all the people that work at the university, as well as the people that commute back and forth, the pedestrian traffic that commute back and forth, that have to cross over University Avenue. I bring that forward to be proactive and to see what we can do working together with the university. I believe it's a win-win.
What location, Councillor Twill?
In around the Edmund Street area, Councillor Bernard, where they're talking about paving that new roadway. So I think we can work together with the university, and now that they want to make that into a full-fledged intersection, I believe the time is right, because Councillor Bernard, you work in that general area. I mean, tremendous amount of traffic. Let's at least explore that opportunity to make it safe for everyone that commutes in that particular community.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Did you want to add something to it, Councillor Bernard?
No, I was just wondering what
clarification.
just looking what location we was thinking of. That's all.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Question?
Question, Colin?
Okay. Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Twill?
Enthusiastically in favor.
Wow, that's a good, I like that one. Councillor Yankow?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
I'm in favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor.
Okay. Councillor McKay?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
So it's 9-0. Councillor Rivard, I just want to thank
Yes.
you for moving this to the point where it is just one step away from moving to the actual construction stage. And as Councillor Twill said, I agree with everything he said, because this is not only good for the university, but the whole community of Prince Edward Island. And I think it's a great step forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I'll just put down Councillor Mr. Ron. Okay. Just let me get this down. In conflict. Okay. Is that it, sir?
No, there is a first reading, Your Worship.
First reading.
Sorry.
So if I could please, to adopt bylaw PHZ2.2027, a bylaw for a site-specific exemption in the institutional I zone for the of the zoning development bylaw as it pertains to 550 University Avenue, PID 373126, in order to allow the proposed 9-story, 35.4 meter dormitory residence be constructed on the property which exceeds the maximum building height in the industrial I zone. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw PH-Z2.2-027 as it pertains to 550 University Avenue, PID 373126, as attached, be read a first time, moved by Councillor Rivera, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, Your Worship.
Shall it carry?
Pass.
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 Okay. Do you want me,
Be resolved.
Mr. Kelly, do you want me to do a roll call on that?
No, just as long as I say it passes, Your Worship. Be
Okay.
resolved that the zoning development amendment bylaw PH-Z2.2-027 be approved and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Vard, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, Your Worship.
Shall it pass?
Pass.
Pass.
Okay. Okay, so I'll sign that off later. Thank you, Councillor Rivard. Anything else?
No, that's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
That's, okay. So the next agenda item is finance audit and tenders, and that's Councillor Terry Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir.
Your Worship, our committee, as you know, met on May the 6th. There's one resolution in the package. Your Worship, I just want to make comment. We had talked about it during the budget address. Been working hard to get a number of the tender documents together, get them out the door. I count 17 in the package tonight, and amounting to, if they're all approved, it's authorizing $6.5 million to out the door and start helping with I noticed the regulations are starting to get relaxed, and so the authorization of these 17 resolutions tonight, we should put about $6.5 million starting into the economy. I do want to thank our staff, Peter Kelly, Mark Lanigan, Public Works staff. There's a lot of resolutions and a lot of work done here. And I don't recall of a time before where we had this many resolutions in one night. So the bulk of them are in Public Works. Just as one for council consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Bernard, and that's great news for putting money into the economy.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Any questions?
I do have a recommendation.
Councillor Tweel?
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Councillor Bernard, as you know, I brought to council, more specifically the Finance Committee, the whole emphasis and better still, the campaign to buy local. As you know, we do feel the pressure with regards to local businesses when they do tender, and we have to, Councillor Duffy would tell you this, we have to follow the procurement agreement. It's in the MGA, as I understand it. We have to follow along and 9 times out of 10 take the lowest bid. Now, having said that, and we talk about injecting money into the local economy, whether it be here in the city of Charlottetown or the province of Prince Edward Island, now might be the time to open up discussions with the provincial government to see what we can do to alter the current procurement agreement, to maybe add another section, a criteria, if you will, so that if you are purchasing local, that there's a section there where that can be part of the rating process as well. I do believe the time is right to meet with the province, because the more money we can keep here in the city of Charlottetown, supporting our local businesses that are paying enormous taxes. Their kids are going to our schools. They're at the hockey rinks. They're at the ball fields. they're participating in a number of different venues and facilities here. So now is the time to meet with the provincial government and to see what can be done to look at the procurement agreement and make some changes so that we can pour more money into our local economy as opposed to leaving the city or going outside of the province.
Councillor Bernard, do you want to take that under advisement, or do you want to enlighten us what's going on?
Oh, I can take it under advisement. I think we talked about this before, and I think he's correct. I mean, we are under the MTA. My understanding is the procurement agreement was basically for the maritime provinces. I believe the objective was to be able to open the doors to everybody. So it would provide more opportunity for our local businesses to tender on equipment or services or what have you in other jurisdictions. I guess my first thought would be if we were to put restrictions on it, that may, obviously other municipalities, towns, and city will end up putting restrictions on theirs too. So, can we take it back and have a discussion? Yeah. I'm not sure if the province will be want to be too engaged, but we'll certainly have a conversation with them to see where they are on it.
If I may follow.
I wouldn't want to see it to be in detriment of a lot of our businesses within the city of Charlottetown. That's all.
No, I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is that.
Tweel,
yeah.
Someone else was just trying to ask a question, and then we can come back. Who
Yes,
else
Your
was
Worship.
asking? Is that you, Councillor Duffy?
Councillor Duffy?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I'd just like to clear the air a little bit, Your Worship, and not leave the wrong impression. The Atlantic procurement agreement applies only to those purchases where the tender that goes out is for services is $25,000 or greater. For purchases, it's $50,000 or greater, or and construction is $100,000 or greater. I don't want to leave the impression that everything is under the Atlantic Province's procurement. I think what brought it up was vehicles and that sort of thing, and rarely would we get a purchase for vehicles under $50,000. So therefore, that's where we're stymied. Or
yeah, it falls under the bigger deal. Okay.
Yeah.
No, good. Thanks for clarifying that, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Bernard.
No, I say that's a good point. He is right.
Yeah. Okay.
Do
you want to follow up there, Councillor Tweel? Go ahead.
Councillor Bernard, I was not looking to add restrictions. What I was looking to do was add a new set of criteria, a rating system that would be advantageous for our local businesses. So maybe we can add that component or propose that component to the province. It's not restricting. It's giving more of an opportunity for our local businesses here in the city of Charlottetown to be able to compete and send the message out that we're trying to help them as much as we can. And this could lead to more businesses being opened here in the city of Charlottetown. I look at it that way.
Good point there, Councillor. Okay.
I have a question, Your Worship.
Oh, go ahead there, Councillor Dron.
Thank you. Thank you for your report, Councillor Bernard. I've been asking for a number of months, and this will be the last time I'll ask a question about it. It's the travel expenses. I look at our travel expenses for council for this year, and it's up over $110,000. It's doubled from last year at $54,000. I'm just wondering, I don't know what we're doing here. Like there's a number of expenses. People are in the 10, 12, 14, 15,000. It's a lot of taxpayers' money. I understand if you go to a conference or a course you want to go to, there's a certain amount of a budget. And, when we were discussing this a year or two ago, 5,000 was the limit. This seems to have been jumped in leaps and bounds. And I would like to see when a person goes on a trip or a conference or a course, that they come back to council and stand up at a council meeting and give a report of what course or conference you went to. And that way other councillors get to learn from your experience if you go on a trip. There's a lot of times now that I see councillors going on trips. I didn't know where they went or what they did or what information they come back with. I look at other municipalities on the island, and, you know, they're smaller than us, but their expenses are not as high. And I think we're just getting, you know, we're spending way too much of the taxpayers' money for what we can get back. You know, I've asked you to go back to your committee and discuss a policy for a number of months, but I don't get any information here. So I'm just wondering, you know, can you come back with a policy for something like that?
We looked at that. You did bring it up, and we looked at that. And so we did last year have $5,000 per counselor for doing educational conferences. Now, having said that, there's monies budgeted throughout the budget that you would approve, and you approve the budget. So there's different dollars in every budget for going to conferences, going to these training facilities. Now, my understanding is, yes, this year was higher than last year, as opposed to usually every year after an election year when you have new elected officials. Those officials are going to go get more educational training than most. And that's okay. That's made a difference. I think Councillor McCabe has made quite a difference. It's made quite a difference for Councillor Yankov. So I don't know, Councillor Duran, if you've ever taken any of these conferences or not, but they certainly help in depending which educational conference. It certainly helps in your committee, and it certainly helps in your in addressing your ward, whatever those issues are. That's why I think Councillor Tweel, I know he mentioned there one day, but the possibility if you go into the police conference, just to see on new updates, whether it's for getting the sale of drugs, illicit drugs in the homes under control, or speeding, or whatever new technologies may be out there. And this is why they put these sessions on. This is where you get a lot of education, a lot of good information on that. But then again, that's up to the individual counselor if they want to take the time to go and get educated in these forms of these conferences. So we did look at it. We went back 5 years, and none of the years we were over budget. Most years, if not all of them, were under budget actually. So being under budget, which is usually a good thing. This year, for sure, it's going to be under budget because of COVID. Yeah, and I just want to add, you know, when you say $110,000, it's not just travel. I mean, there's registration costs for these courses. There's other costs that are in there that's listed under travel, and maybe the name travel should change. The other costs are listed in the captured in that number.
Can I respond, Your Worship?
Yeah, Councillor Bernard,
Yes.
just put your mic. We missed a little bit at the end there.
Okay.
Councillor, not too bad. You're again coming in and out. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear us, Terry? Councillor Bernard?
I can hear you clear as a bell.
Okay, you're good now. Councillor Duran.
Yes, I understand, and I don't, you know, I don't have any questions if a person was going to a conference or educational course to better themselves, to treat the residents. You know, I understand all that. It's just that, you know, we had 5,000, and some people are well above that. That's the issue I'm saying. You know, if you can go to a course or a conference this year, that's fine. You can go to a course or conference next year, that's fine. That's in different budget years. When you're going 3 and 4 times, that's where I feel, you know, and not coming back with a report to help the other counselors learn what you've learned. That's the issue that I have. I mean, there's, you know, I'll go to the rinks there, you know, things like that there's certain counselors went to Moncton, certain counselors went to Toronto. We had hired a group to go to Toronto and see some rinks. They come back with a report. You know, in this day and age, as we're doing here on the screen, I can see any rink pretty well in any place in the world. And, you know, to get that information and give it back to council, I just find that we're going way too much for travel. You know, it's doubled in last year, and last year was a 19-month or whatever it was budget. I'm just asking to put a hold on, get a policy in place, you know, of a person that goes to a conference, come back and share your information with the other counselors so we can all learn with that stuff. You know, these are the things that we have to have in place without people, you know, going to places and then we don't get to benefit from that. So that's all I've asked your committee to do, to come up with a policy, and I'm not going to start hammering it anymore. I just, you know, I've been asking it for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months, and I'm just putting it to bed and asking you to do the right thing, come in with a policy. Thanks.
Yeah, just if I can answer that. So usually, Councillor Drawn, anybody that does go on a conference, I mean, that information, anybody that wants to share just has to ask for it. The councillors have always been good to share that information, and they're free and willing to share that information. I suppose, you know, we could go back and talk, but I'm not exactly sure what it is you want us to bring the policy up on, but, you know, anything that you want to put a resolution on the floor or anything in regards, just let me know. I mean, you have that option to do that. I'm not sure what you're asking us to do. Everything that's been done in the past through the training has been under the training budget. You know, I'm not real clear on what it is you want me, what policy you want to bring in.
So
Your worship.
just as a
I
follow-up,
have a question too.
Councillor Duran,
Yes,
could
sir.
you just summarize what you've been presenting and send an email to the Finance Committee?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean,
And
it's
Councillor Duran,
sorry.
I just want to say one thing. What we're learning from video conferencing, it's going to help dramatically in communicating and avoiding those trips to the airports and flying all over the country, because this platform has created a lot of opportunities for us to come together, or for other groups to come together and learn as we are learning to use this platform. So I appreciate what you're saying. Councillor Rivard?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I mean, Councillor Duran, you know, I think he was referring to the frequency maybe of the trips. I mean, when we say we doubled up the cost of our trips, keep in mind too, we have a certain amount of money budgeted, $5,000 in our own committees for travel, but we also have that other training fund through the mayor's budget as well for the FCM usually. So those two usually amount to closer, I'll say, to $9,000-10,000 if you were to tap into both. I know from a planning conference that I've attended with the manager of planning, the registration fee on itself is about $1,700. But again, when we talk about travel and the education component of things, that is certainly key. But the other piece that's lost is the fact that during these sessions, these conferences, the networking is invaluable. The people you meet from different municipalities, different states, wherever across the world, and there's still people that I communicate with on a monthly basis with ideas. So networking is invaluable in these type of things, and I certainly think it's a good idea. But again, I digress.
Councillor MacLeod?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I just wanted to say that, just to clarify a little bit, and Greg touched on it, and that is that you have your own budget within your committee, but when you're asked to go on, or you volunteer to go on a task force of some sort, depending on what the issue is, there becomes it could be like, for example, if it was the arenas, you might have to go see a couple arenas, so or you get to represent the mayor somewhere. That kind of shows up on your table of what you spend on, but really it doesn't break down the budget as to where it actually came from. So if you broke it back down, each committee chair is only going spending what they're allocated. But some of us will spend 15,000, while others only spend 400 or a couple thousand, depending on what you all go on. But I think it, you know, I don't know if I'd like to agree to say that we're all spending more money than what was budgeted. I just think some councillors are more involved in some committees that require them to be. And some of our committees, like economic development, for example, you know, Wayne does a very good job when he comes back with Councillor Ramsey, and it's discussed in the minutes. Is brought forward to council as to what they were, who they seen, and what they come up with, and that's brought back to the committee level. So you know, could we do a better job maybe of communicating? Probably so. Maybe the councillor can give a little more highlight on their wherever they were, but it does get transferred into the minutes, and there is, like Greg says, a lot of good points come out of traveling and seeing people in your specific areas. Thank you.
Also, Your Worship,
Councillor Duffy.
could I just add also that we received up until the last year or so $3.3 million in gas tax, which was the result of being members of FCM, who puts on a lot of these courses, and we go and participate. And that 3.3 has in the last year or two been doubled to 6.6. So if we weren't a member of that organization and supporting them by attending their seminars and symposiums and that sort of thing, we wouldn't have $6.6 million going into our budget, which makes our travel expense look pretty minor.
Yeah, and Councillor Duffy, I hear the point that Councillor Duran is making, is that, you know, when we come back from these conferences, conventions, to just give a summary of what took place, that's what we're going to have to do. But I think where we're spending the money, it's worthwhile, especially as Greg said, Councillor Rivard, it's the networking. And I know what I learned at the FCM last year in Quebec City, just on the Delta Police and what they're doing with cannabis grow areas and how they're dealing with that odor issue. I was able to phone a member from the UBCM, Union of BC Municipalities, and he was able to send to me within several minutes via email their proposed bylaw on this issue. So where did I pick up that contact? It was at the FCM in Old Quebec.
Yeah.
No,
Your Worship?
Your Worship? You know, Councillor Rivard brought up a good point, because, I mean, as we all know, that go to these conferences, I mean, networking is the number one thing you can have. And I can certainly say that over the years, it certainly helped me in the success that I had with my engagement, my duties with the city and within my board. No question, it's been a definite beneficial to me. And anyway, that goes on these, as you say, the network is a good point. But I mean, there's other issues there. Like, I know Councillor Twill sits in the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. He has meetings that he has to attend on behalf of the city of Charlottetown. That would show up under that budget also. I think it was Councillor McLeod that mentioned, and it's right. So there's 5,000 per councillor for any of these conferences that has to do with their committee or something that would make it interesting, make an educational experience to help them with their duties.
And Councillor Bernard, Councillor Twill is also on the national board.
Yep.
Your Worship, can I add in something?
Councillor Ramsey, Kevin Ramsey from Ward 5.
Yes, thank you very much. As chair of economic development and events and attractions, like I have 5,000 along as everybody else and all that line, and I go with my, it isn't my staff, but what the staff says, if they think an elected official should be at a certain place at a certain time to help smooth the waters or sort of get something involved in the city of Charlottetown by having someone there, well then I let them ask me, and then we keep it to the 5,000. And my first question as Wayne or Ron or Laurel, I'll always ask them is, have I got any money left in my budget? And if there's no money, I don't go. Pretty simple.
Hey, Councillor Duran, so
Yeah.
can you just follow up with an email to the committee?
I could, Your Worship, and like I said, at the end of the day, I understand fully about the 5,000 going to education or a conference, networking, all that. But when it doubles to 110,000, then that's a concern. I'll certainly follow up with an email. The only 2 points was the limits and the reports, right? So there's got to be a limit here somewhere. Somebody's got to put a limit or a stop on something, and then report back to council and a resident. So that's the only 2 points. But I'll certainly send an email, and I appreciate your time on it.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Councillor Bernard, do you want to present your resolution? Is it finance number 1?
There is one resolution, Worship.
Yeah, just one sec. I just want to say, Your Worship, that none of the budgets have been over budget.
I agree.
So any of these conferences or educational courses, none of the budgets have gone over budget. So,
Okay.
Unless council, we've already approved the budget. Unless council wants to go back and relook at that budget, which we could do. But this year, we know there's going to be much travel anyway because of the situation. So that's budget. That's money that's going to be left over in the budget anyway. So, anyway, on the resolution, yes, I just wanted to make a couple of points. Either of you want to read it off, then I'll make a
Yeah,
couple.
and then you can present your views. Councillor,
Moved
Mr.
by
McKelly?
Moved by Council Bernard, and second by Council Rivard. Whereas during the release of the city capital budget for the current fiscal year 2020-2021, there was uncertainty concerning certain Kerry Bell Alliance Center items requested for a capital expenditure. And whereas Kerry has been closed during the current state of emergency related to the public health crisis, and whereas with the reduced activity at Kerry, it presents an opportunity to begin the renovations to the ventilation of the aquatic center and resurface the asphalt parking lot at the facility. Therefore, be resolved that council approve an increase in the City of Charlottetown's fiscal year 2020-2021 capital budget of $1,715,500 to fund the Bell Alliance Center Kerry fiscal year 2020-2021 capital expenditure program, and be it further resolved that the capital budget increase is to fund capital projects for the fiscal year 2020-2021 for the Aquatics Center ventilation, renovation, parking lot asphalt resurfacing, arena compressors, and other minor capital emergency repairs, Your Worship.
Councillor Bernard?
Yeah, I might ask for a little amendment to that. And that would be that, this funding, Your Worship, is contingent on receiving partner funding.
Yes, I fully agree with that. That's UPEI, and then there's also the funding from the Commercial Tenant Fund, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Mr. Kelly, can you add that?
Yes, Your Worship, already did.
So, where did you put that, at the end of emergency repairs?
Yes, and that it be contingent with the other partners, the other stakeholder partner funding, Your Worship.
Okay. Is that all right, Councillor Bernard?
It sounds good, yeah. And I just want to give a little background here.
Could you please?
And actually, I want to give a shout out to Stu Fraser for bringing this up. So this is the first phase. The big cost here. The parking lot is approximately $400,000, which was on the docket to do this year. The first phase of dehumidification for the building was for next year, and it required that the pool, the aquatic center, be closed. And now that the aquatic center is closed this year, we're looking to move that up to get it done this year, so we don't have to close the aquatic center again next year. So there will be what they call Dectron units that have to be replaced in phase one. Phase one is the one that has to be shut down. The aquatics arena would have to be shut down. So right now, while it's shut down, is why we'd like to get this done. By moving this project up this year, we would eliminate, obviously, the closure to the pool next year. And that's obviously, if we have to close next year, we're going to be losing revenue, which we don't have to. We can do it this year. So it's closed now, so it's a good time to do it.
Any questions?
The only other thing is I would probably, Peter, where it says, and whereas with reduced activity at Kerry, possess the opportunity to begin a renovation of the ventilation / dehumidification of the aquatic center at Kerry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, Your Worship.
Councillor Duran?
Thank you. Thank you for the update, Councillor Bernard. You know, when I read it here, it was quite shocking that we're going to increase our capital budget, but for the reasoning you spell out here, I certainly understand the ventilation system, if that was any way, shape, or form of a safety issue, or I mean, that certainly could be bumped up. I took a drive around the parking lot yesterday and noticed it wasn't that bad. I wonder if we can reduce it and put the parking lot to next year and move this ventilation up to this year. It's certainly a lot of money to go out this year, especially when we don't know where we're going to end up the next couple of months. Did your committee, was it able to sit down and think of something like that? Like, I understand it was supposed to be put out to this month or this year. Well, a delaying of a year might help it and bring the cost down. And the funding partners, is this totally ours? Or you said 3 levels of funding or so, I think. So is it a $6 million project and we're paying a third, or what is the breakdown of that, Councillor Bernard?
Our share is 1.7 million. and we, as you know, we're 87% cost.
We're 87% of the cost?
Yeah, yeah, we're the major shareholder.
Okay.
And the other 13%.
My understanding is the parking lot, they've been waiting to do that for quite a few years, so the parking lot being done now would be a time to do it when nobody's using it, nobody's in it. Equipment comes in and do what they need to do to tear it up, do whatever they need to do, and spread a good level layer of asphalt, and it'll get to thick for quite a while without anybody doing any damage to it. Not that it would, but and the dehumidifier and the ventilation, so on. I've explained that. That's a high cost, and it will be, and there's no getting away from it. It's got to be done.
I certainly understand that and agree with it fully.
Yep.
If there was a safety concern, it's just this is a lot of money to borrow, and you know, I thought if we broke it up, it might be better for our budget moving forward, but that's what you think. Just go with the resolution and see what happens, I guess. Thank you.
Councilor Bernard,
Yes.
I think if you looked at the original request, they were asking money for the lighting, retrofitting, sidewalk replacement. They were looking at a lot of other upgrades, but they're going to, the Kerry or Bell Alliant will suspend them for another year, correct?
Yeah, they have quite a list, and there's still a list for we have to consider under the Canada Games, and we're working through that now. So there's going to be some other expenditures there, but we'll be getting that at least south of 50% cost reduction. And just so everybody's, this is the first phase of this dehumidification for the building. So there's 3 phases. The phase 1 is the one that requires the aquatic center to be closed down.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And you said there's a phase 2 and a phase 3.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Question?
Yeah.
Okay.
No question called, sorry.
Councilor McLeod.
In favor.
Councilor Twill.
In favor.
Councilor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councilor Rivard.
I'm in favor.
Councilor Duran.
Not in favor the way it is now, Your Worship.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councilor Bernard.
Favor.
Councilor McCabe.
In favor.
Councilor Duffy.
In favor.
And Councilor Ramsey.
In favor, Your Worship.
Carried 9-1. Okay. Is there anything else, Councilor Bernard?
No, that's good. Just wanted again to give that shout out for the hard work that's been done for our staff to get tenders. Like I say, you're going to find 17 tenders that have to do with funding and money going at the door. So again, it's been a lot of work. This usually happens throughout the year. There's still more to come, but that's hats off to the good work that they've been doing with Public Works and with the Finance Department, Your Worship. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I think we can now move on to Human Resources, correct?
Yep.
Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Human Resource Communications Administration Committee met on April 21st. The minutes are in your package, and we do have 2 resolutions for your consideration this evening. If there are any questions, I'll try my best to answer.
Any questions? Okay, hearing no questions, can I get resolution number 1 read aloud, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by, Councillor Yankoff, second by Councillor Duffy, that the City of Charlottetown accept the amendments to the Employee Criminal Records Checks Policy as per the attached document effective May 11th, 2020.
Any questions, concerns?
The question's called.
Questions called. Okay. Councilor McLeod.
In favor.
In favor. Councilor Twill.
In favor.
Councilor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councilor Rivard.
In favor.
Councilor Duran.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard,
In favor?
Councillor McKay,
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Duffy,
In favor?
and Councillor Ramsey.
In favor?
10-0, carried. We have another resolution.
Yes, we do, Your Worship. So moved by Councillor McCabe, second by Councillor Yankoff, that the City of Charlottetown ratify and adopt the attached negotiated memorandum of settlement to amend the collective agreement with CUPE Local 501 wastewater treatment plant for the period of January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2022, Your Worship.
Any questions, concerns? Okay. Question?
Question called.
Okay. Councillor McLeod,
In favor, sir.
Councillor Twill,
In favor?
Councillor Yankoff,
In favor.
Councillor Rivard,
I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran,
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody,
In favor.
Councillor Bernard,
Favor?
Councillor McCabe,
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Duffy,
In favor?
and Councillor Ramsey.
In favor?
10-0, carried. Anything else, Councillor McCabe?
No, that was everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to Councillor Twill, Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities. Councillor Twill.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Brown and members of City Council. Tonight, we will be submitting 3 resolutions for Council's consideration. I want to take this opportunity to thank the citizens of Charlottetown and all Islanders for respecting social distancing, particularly in the boardwalk in Victoria Park and some of our trails, the Rails of Trails, which is quite popular here in the city of Charlottetown. And of course, with the closing of the inside lane, the feedback has been enormous. People are very enthusiastic about having those opportunities and those options to be able to walk, run, jog, cycle. The feedback has been tremendous. And by opening up in phases some of the recreational facilities and venues, five people at a time, I think our staff has done a good job coordinating with the provincial government, particularly the chief medical officer. And I like the approach that we're taking it in. We're not doing it all at once. We're doing it in phases and assessing and evaluating as we go along and making those adjustments. So thus far, I think we're on the right track, and I believe continuing in that with that strategy and that philosophy, I think it'll bode well for our citizens.
Thank you very much, Councillor Twill. It's, the physical distancing is working very well, and we just have to keep practicing it strongly. Thank you. Do you want to introduce the first resolution, or sorry, any questions, concerns?
I have one, Your Worship.
Go ahead there, Councillor Duran.
Thank you for your report, Councillor Twill. I was late logging into a meeting the other day, and I missed some of the issues we were talking about. Now, reading the notes over the weekend, it talked about the specs and a tender document for an outdoor rink that was received by the department. I'm fully in support of outdoor rinks. I wish we could have more in every ward. What could you explain to me, like what the specifics are, or the outdoor rink? Is this another one, or does it have boards or anything good like that? Could you explain that for me, please?
Well, thank you for your question. It's a good question, Councillor Duran. I'll attempt to. The rink that we're talking about is in Hillsborough Development near the community facility, as I understand it. It will have boards. I'm not sure the dimensions of the venue. I don't believe it's going to be NHL size. I stand to be corrected. If it was NHL size, I'd be strongly in favor of that as well. The rationale for the boards is that at one time in Hillsborough Development, we had a gentleman that used to construct an outdoor rink. He used to light it, and it was part of the fabric and the dynamic of Hillsborough development. And when I say that, I'm talking about Gordy Griffin. Gordy Griffin was a great, just a great provider, and always gave and gave and gave to his community. And he's no longer able to do that. And you know, I think he's done it over a number of years, number of decades. So the counselor in the area suggested that we install boards at the rink because we have a lot of kids out there that are playing hockey, and that was the nuts and bolts of the discussion. There's further discussions to take place at Parks and Recreation, which obviously you're a member of. I don't know if there's any technical, additional or further technical questions that you would like to ask. But we have Frank Quinn here with us, the manager of the Parks and Recreation and Leisures Committee. Frank can answer it now, or you know, we can provide more information once the meeting is over. Whatever you wish.
Or provided at the next Parks and Recreation meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great, Councillor Tweel. I appreciate your response to my question. I was always interested in getting boards for this ward, and you know, we were told that we're no longer doing that because of the great work that the Zamboni does and comes and floods the ice. So, you know, I was just, you know, if we're going to go with boards, which is a good idea, you know, for let the kids shoot and things like that, I'd certainly like to discuss it more at the next committee meeting. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Councillor Duran, you have my word. It'll be on the agenda for the next Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. And look, the more outdoor facilities and facilities that we can provide throughout the city of Charlottetown for our citizens, that I believe is a very wise and very helpful investment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tweel, for that word. Councillor McLeod.
Thank you very much. As I share Councillor Durang's comments on the outdoor pads, I'm very much just want to make sure that Councillor Tweel and his committee consider. I know I'm in the same boat. I'm going to lose out in MacArthur Park, or I'm going to lose at Macaulay Park. I just similar to what Councillor Tweel had said. This park has been out in MacArthur Park, or this pond has been out in MacArthur Park now for a number of years, and you know, we're talking about outdoor, how important it is, and all of a sudden now we're going to start pulling things away from the outdoor activities. It's a very young community out there, and it's utilized tremendously. Now versus Macaulay Park, I just want to make sure that the committee understands that Macaulay Park is a district park, right? It represents a district. And the city put a lot of money into that infrastructure there so that people can use it, and it does. It gets used very widely. So I just want to make sure that those 2 points get across to the committee, that when we're looking at the end of the day here, what we're doing, I just hope that we consider, you know, these outdoor parks are second to none. Like, it's really what the community wants. So I just want to have that shared, please. Thank you.
And you're right on there, Councillor McLeod.
Councillor McLeod, as you know, one of the goals and aspirations of the committee this year was to strive to have an outdoor rink in every ward. We've tried in numerous years, and we weren't able to make that happen. But this year, we've really come together and made that a commitment with the support of all members of City Council. And I think it's worked out quite well. I know that for example, one of the outdoor rinks at Spring Park School, which the city owns property adjacent to the school property, has gone over extremely well. And I believe the new one out in Highfield has gone over extremely well as well. Councillor McLeod, I can tell you straight up that it was up to me. There'd be 2 or 3 outdoor rinks in every ward, and we're going to do everything we can to accommodate those people in the MacArthur community. We know how important it is. We're in the business here to provide recreational opportunities and venues, not to subtract. I'm looking to add. So I want you to know that your points are well taken. I know how you feel about it, and I know how that community feels. So before anything happens, you will be given a heads up.
Thank
And,
you, Councillor Twill.
very
And
much
now,
involved in the collaboration.
Your worship,
and as we come to the spring, as we're into spring and going to summer, maybe we can continue this conversation next year when we start looking at the rinks, but good to have it right now. Councillor Ramsey.
yes, I just want to touch base on what Councillor Twill said. I sit on Rex too, and our new one at Spring Park School and the one on Rosemount, we got excellent response from that. People are so happy and all that stuff. So that worked out too. Those are two rinks that were never there, and the residents were over the moon with it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Twill, you want to go with your resolutions?
I just have a comment.
Oh.
Your worship.
Councillor Bernard?
If I could just add to what Councillor King said. So, he's correct. Gordy Griffin had a rink out there for many, many years, probably more than 20 years. And it was always a place where kids could go play hockey, shoot pucks, and so on. We had a rink also by the community center, and that was mostly used for people who wanted to go for a skate or what have you with no hockey on. Gordy obviously is no longer able to put the rink in his area there. So this went to Parks and Rec. We did discuss this as part of the capital budget that was approved by all of council. We are to put the rink in where the on city property by the community center where we had the other outdoor rink. This is something that we're looking to do similar to what's on McCrae Drive now. So again, like I say, we talked about this in capital budget. We talked about this in the Parks and Rec committee. Something that I obviously been looking forward to. There's a ton of kids out in Hillsborough Park. So it'll be obviously very well used. And the Parks and Rec staff, I understand, have been working on this file for the last couple of months. So, yeah, it's a good news story.
Yeah.
Well,
And
thank you.
Councillor Bernard, I know that splash pad, hopefully it'll come back too.
Councillor Brown,
Yes.
you seem to be, or Mayor Brown, you seem to be offsides with the constituency. According to the local councillor, you're not in sync from what he's telling me, sir. That wouldn't be the first time, would it?
Okay. Do you have a resolution?
Yes, I do have a resolution, Your Worship, moved by Council Twill, second by Council Bernard, that as per the recently advertised request for proposals for the park playground equipment, the City of Charlottetown accepts the following bids for playgrounds equipment from Play Power in the amount of $23,755.55, HST included, for Lions Park. Player Power in the amount of $23,773.95, HST included, for the McPherson Park. Play Power in the amount of $4,567.80, HST included, for two 6-foot 2-bay swing set with 2 tot seats and 2 belt seats, each for Kennedy Park and McLean Park. Play Power in the amount of $4,665.55, HST included, for two 8-feet 2-bay swing sets with 2 tot seats and 2 belt seats for Rosemount Park and Westridge Park. Play Power in the amount of $1,251.20, HST included, for one 6-foot 1-bay swing set with 1 tot seat and 1 belt seat for Macmillan Park, and that the estimate addition amount of $75,000 be approved for the playground removal, installation, and contingency cost under the Parks Playground project as noted above, and that these amounts will be expensed to the approved 2020-2021 Parks and Recreation capital budget, and further, that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreement to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Okay, fairly detailed report or resolution. Councillor Twill, you want to have anything to say, or do you just want to put it right to the question?
Just want to, bring this resolution forward. It's been consistent with what we've done in the last number of years, and our strategy and our goal is to make sure that we have playground equipment that meets Canadian standards, national standards, spread throughout the city of Charlottetown. Our strategy has worked. It's worked out well. And this is just another indication with this resolution coming forward.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Just curious, Councillor Twill. I'm looking at Westridge Park here and I see 2 tot seats and 2 belt seats. Curious, what's a belt seat? I see
A belt
it.
seat, a belt seat versus
What's a belt seat?
The 2 tot seats and 2 belt seats. I'm wondering what's a belt seat?
I think the tot seat is for children, and the belt seat is for older youth. Now, I stand to be corrected, but Frank Quinn, can you please clarify as well?
You're correct, Councillor Twill.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Right on. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay. Question?
Question called.
Okay. Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard. Councillor Rivard.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
Favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Thank you. Second resolution there, Mr. Kelly.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Twill, second by Councillor Bernard. Be it resolved that as per the recently advertised tender for the City Diamond Field upgrade, the City of Charlottetown accepts the bid of $141,777.75, HST included, from Island Coastal Services, and that the amount from CBCL of $14,375, HST included, for the engineering and professional fees be accepted, and that these amounts will be expensed to the approved 2020-2021 Parks and Recreation capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Councillor Twill, anything to add?
Just that the participants of the user groups, our community groups, are certainly looking forward to having this field finally renovated, bringing in the proper specifications for both Bantam and Pee Wee play. For years, there's been deficiencies with this particular field. In some cases, they would argue in the outfield that it wasn't safe because it wasn't completely leveled. So finally, after a number of years of waiting, this field will be renovated to specifications and to the expectations of all of our community groups that are going to utilize this field.
Any questions, concerns? Question?
Question called.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Carried. Third resolution there, Mr. Kelly.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Twill, sent by Councillor Bernard. Be it resolved that as per the recently advertised tender for the City Diamond light poles and fixtures replacement, the City of Charlottetown accepts the bid of $356,000, HST included, from Hanson Electric Limited, and the amount from Richardson and Associates 1993 Limited of $5,520, HST included, for the engineering and the professional fees be accepted, and that these amounts will be expensed to the approved 2020-2021 Parks and Recreation capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Councillor Twill.
Once again, the poles that were installed back about 30 years ago, unfortunately, Mike Duffy would be able to attest to this as a former player in the city fastball league. The poles that were installed weren't to the height that they were supposed to. This is not to be critical of my predecessors, but nonetheless, the participants once again are looking forward to new poles being installed and new lighting, and I think this is a welcome addition to the City Diamond, as we commonly known it as for the past 4 decades. So I think it's going to be great, and it's going to be great for all participants.
Councillor Duffy, any comments?
Well, I'm still getting over the comment about me knowing Dr. McMillan there at the opening of this session. I know of him. I didn't know him. I'm old, but not that old.
But what
This is
about
just
the
adding
lights?
salt to the wounds.
What about the lights?
Oh, I'll be voting for this all the way.
I have a comment, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
As, I don't know what the present day umpires will use for an excuse, but as an umpire for a lot of years and being down at City Diamond, we used to use that as an excuse when we'd miss our calls, right? The lights weren't adequate, or but they are low, and it's great to see the infrastructure work going into the City Diamond. It's a piece of infrastructure that markets the city well. And I also, Councillor Tweel, is there anything in there about moving the scoreboard? The reason I say that, it's probably the only scoreboard that I know that's in foul territory. And now that we're doing electrical work, would be the time to do it. Just a thought. Was there any conversation on that?
Councillor McLeod, to be quite honest with you, I know that was kicked around, but nonetheless, now that you've brought it up, if we're going to make those changes, now is the time with the electrical. I mean, these are going to be major renovations to City Diamond, the entire field, as well as the new light fixtures. So I'm sure our manager, Frank Wynn, is taking notes, and we'll have those discussions in the next few days and the weeks ahead.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you for bringing it up.
Any other questions? Okay. Question?
Question called.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Tweel.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
In favor?
Councillor McKay.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor?
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Okay, carried. Is that it, Councillor Tweel?
Yes, Mayor Brown, once again, another progressive, productive month in Parks and Recreation and Leisure Committee.
Well, that's because of the committee you have. A great committee.
It is a great committee, and we do quite well when you're late.
Okay, Protective Services. Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Protective and Emergency Services Committee met on April 29th, and of course by video, and the minutes are included in your package. Just a quick note to thank both the fire and police department. I was driving around the other day, and there was a parade of vehicles. And the little child was out front of her house waving with balloons when the emergency vehicles went by and flashed on their lights and horns. And I'm sure that little girl was quite excited, and she'll never forget that. So it's a great shout out to both those departments participating in that when they can. We have one resolution coming forward, and if anybody has any questions, I'll try my best to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Any questions?
I do. I have a question. Mayor Brown?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Councillor Tweel. We're all listening.
Okay. Thank you for your report, Councillor Duran. As you know, the Chief Medical Officer recently made a declaration of a case of 3 overdoses with fentanyl here in this province. And as you know, I've been talking about drugs, the sale of drugs and drug usage, the extensive amount of drugs being utilized in the neighborhoods in neighborhoods throughout the city of Charlottetown. And now with this revelation that has come forward by the Chief Medical Officer, I think there's more of an urgency now than there ever was dealing with drugs here in the city of Charlottetown. I think we need to intensify our efforts to dealing with drugs. I can tell you that recently we had a conference call with a resident who was extremely frustrated with the fallout from a drug house next door to her property. She's done a wonderful job remodeling her house, the family home, passed down through the generations. And what she's got to look forward to is needles in the backyard, trespassing, vulgar language, and just decimating their quality of life that they're paying big taxes for, and it's affected the entire neighborhood. And this is repetitious right across the city. And I believe now with the declaration that the chief medical officer has made with regards to fentanyl overdoses, I think we need to work with the chief medical officer in the province of Prince Edward Island to come up with a plan of action that sets goals and timelines and timeframes as to when the expectation can be met on behalf of our residents that these issues are going to be dealt with as quickly as possible. It's no longer can we sit back and say, well, we're just monitoring the situation, or we're keeping an eye on things, and we're doing surveillance. We've got to take more action. More action is required, and the chief medical officer has just heightened my concern and my involvement in this particular issue. So, Councillor Duran, there's no time like the present, and we have to move forward, and we have to be aggressive.
Councillor Duran?
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Tweel. And, I certainly take your comments to heart, and I'm very concerned for the residents that have problems with drug houses. I drive around the city. I noticed a couple were sold recently, and they're boarded up, and I'm hoping that new owners will come in and get rid of the issue there. But it is a concern. It's a concern with city residents, and all councillors are concerned. We do talk about it at the committee level. We're waiting on confirmation from the province to deal with the drug houses and where we're going to go with that. We're in the middle of a pandemic right now. We're struggling. Well, not struggling, but we have staffing concerns and issues where social distancing as well with police and firemen, and it's an uncharted water for us here, and fire and police. So again, we took your traffic concerns, and we're taking your drug house concerns, and we're going back to the committee, and the chiefs and deputy chiefs are well aware of the situation. They're trying to come up with a plan, and they're working. There's people being charged all the time. I mean, these 3 cases of fentanyl, they're illegal drugs. They're taken in. Who knows how they're here. The police, they have medicine on them in case something like this happens or someone ODs. They're trying to do their best. So, yes, we'll take your comments. We'll go back to the committee level again and discuss it once again, try to get an update. Hopefully this pandemic's over fairly soon, and we can get back to business with the province.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Just to follow up, one of the concerns I'm hearing too from residents throughout the city is about needles on the streets and in backyards. And as you know, we have excuse me, we have a program where if the people would phone the Charlottetown Police Department, the police will come out and pick up the needles on people's properties or on the city's right-of-way. But I think we need to inform our residents, so I would suggest that communications being sent out by our communications people to all members of the media, advising our residents of the program and what the protocol is with respect to needles being on the streets or on private property. A lot of our residents are not aware of that particular program, so I would bring forward this recommendation that we need to inform our residents and have the Charlottetown Police Senior Administration work with our communications people to get that message out.
Well, thank you, Councillor Tweel. That's a great idea. We'll get a hold of our community liaison officer. Sorry, I guess he's not here, but we'll get a hold of the communications department, and we'll go forward there, see if they can get a bulletin out to people, and move on from that. That'd be great. Thank you.
Councillor McCabe, were you trying to ask a question?
Oh, it's okay. I was just wondering if we knew when our bylaw, I know our bylaw officer was in the police rotation, if we knew when they were to actually be returning to their regular duty. Bylaw.
Do we know that, Councillor Duran?
Yeah, I think, we're looking at the middle of the month. I mean, he does do, you know, he still tries to stay on top of things during his regular shift. But it's just like, you know, we're trying to social distance everybody. He's on shift right now, but when he is working, he looks into things, and still, you know, tries to juggle both jobs. So, you know, still give him an email. He'll try to do his best, but he's just you know, he's a great employee for the city, and he does as good a job as expected on a normal day, so.
Oh, absolutely, Councillor Duran. I know that. I just knew he was busy doing regular rotation. I certainly didn't want to inundate him with other concerns. So thank you very much. Of course, I appreciate the work that he does.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Duffy?
No, I'm fine, Your Worship.
Any,
I have a question, I have a comment to make, Your Worship.
Councillor McLeod?
Good, thank you, Councillor Durong, for your report, and I just want to double up on the comments about our bylaw officer. I know he's been tied up with doing regular shifts, and I do know from my experience, you know, he calls me at hours that you would never think he'd be calling. So and follows up and is getting the job done. So just want to hats off there that you know, the police chief and all, that they are doing what they can with the bylaw for sure under stricter times. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a great comment. Thank you.
Councillor Duran, do you want to have Mr. Kelly read the resolution?
I had a comment, Your Worship.
Oh, sorry about that, Councillor Bernard. Go ahead.
Yeah, just obviously everybody knows that, you know, selling illicit drugs out of a house or whatever is a serious issue, and certainly impacts every community negatively, and that's why we're interested in seeing if something it's going to get done. Obviously, what's happening now doesn't seem to be working. I know last month, Councillor Duran, I had asked for the possibility of a meeting, and maybe something can happen here pretty soon. Where I'm interested in knowing what are the constraints that the police have in enforcing and shutting down these I guess we'll call them drug houses for lack of a better word. I just wondered, was there any discussion since last month to this month? Or just on status quo?
You've broken up, Councillor Bernard, about half the message.
Yeah.
Couldn't
Start again, Councillor Bernard.
You hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, Councillor Duran, like we talked last month, and I was just saying, you know, I think everybody agrees it's a very serious issue to have illicit drugs sold out of residential homes and how it affects every community negatively. Just wondering, I had asked last month for the possibility of us, council, having a meeting, committee of the whole, what have you, just see what the constraints are with the police department, what's holding them back, what we may be able to do collectively. And I'm just wondering, is there any plan in place? Is there anything that would have changed from last month when we talked, or is it still just status quo?
Well, you know, at this point in time, it is status quo. We did touch on things on the at our committee level. We're waiting for a response on you know, the drug house issue with the province. They had their hands full and didn't really get back to us with an update. If you feel or anyone feels that, you know, you'd like an update, you know, we could put it on the next committee of the whole, or you know, and ask the chief to come in and the deputies to give us an update if you'd like. You have to understand, you know, drug houses. It's, you know, there's a charter of rights involved, and you can't just kick in a door and go in and arrest people. It's a very tricky situation when you're in someone's home, whether you're renting the home or you're the illegal occupant. So, you know, there's a lot of restraint around that, and the Charter of Rights spells it out pretty clearly. So, you know, maybe the chief or the deputies, when we get a little more information on where we can go, we could do a committee of the whole if you'd like, or if you want something sooner, I could certainly ask them to do that. It's up to council.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think what I'm looking for is as probably with a number of us, we're wondering, you know, what are the constraints, what are the holdbacks, and that's why I think, you know, it would be good to have that meeting to see where we are, you know, see what legalities are in the way. It'd be nice to know, us as lay people. I mean, I'm not a police officer. I don't know what to have to go through. I know it can be frustrating. You know, you talked about the little girl and the fire trucks and the police cars going by for her birthday, and that's great. I'm thinking about the little girl and the little fellow that lives next to a drug house, that there's needles in the backyard that they may come across, or the cursing and swearing, whatever, everything that goes along with it. And obviously, I think everybody would like to put that to an end as quick as possible. And so I wouldn't mind sitting in a room with the chief and with people you think should be there, and let us know what the constraints are, and see what we need to do to see if we can bypass some of these constraints, whether it's talking to the province or whatever. But I just think that things aren't moving in the direction we'd like them to move in this particular very serious incidents that are going on. And so it's nice to get together and see if we can't all come up with a plan of action to deal with this here, serious drug selling drugs from homes. It's scary. There's no question.
Certainly, it shouldn't take that much of a timeline to get that organized, Councillor Bernard. You know, a week or 10 days, I'm sure we could line something up to get our information, all our ducks in a row, and sit down and have a question period with council and see where council would like to go with this.
That'd be great.
And that's, Councillor Bernard, that's something that we could put on the next special meeting of council. But can Mr. Kelly just update us? Is it June that we will have the opportunity to come to meeting council?
The intent, Your Worship, is to start council back in June in council chambers. We're just working out some final details of separation and looking at a couple options, but that's the intent, Your Worship.
And Councillor Bernard, the reason I asked that, do you want it a video conference, or do you want it just to when we can actually meet as a council with the police services? What's your preference?
You know, obviously I want the safest preference that we can, you know, the safest way to meet and have the discussion. I mean, this seems to work fine. Obviously, if we can meet together, that would be great. I don't know, like there's I think the regulations right now is no more than 10 together. So, you know, it would have to be a video conferencing if we're going to do it before the regulation ease that you can have more than 10 in a room. I'm not sure yet. The CAO would know. We're meeting in June, and we're all going to be meeting at the council chambers, and I'm assuming that we're allowed to have more than 10 in the room.
That is correct, Councillor. Yes, that is correct. We have had discussions with health. We are trying to ensure proper distancing and also looking at some options as well. If we do meet, it'll be councillors and the mayor and 2 staff, as well as other staff will be outside waiting to come in to answer any questions. And so it'll be a very staged process, but we are waiting to get some points clarified.
Okay, so Councillor Bernard, here's what we could do. They know the ask from you, what we're looking for. They'll have 2 to 3 weeks to do something, and hopefully by then we'll have a better idea if we can come up here into the chamber to meet with the police services chief and deputies to get a full briefing on what's going on. Is that what you're asking?
It is. I'm just wondering, since CAO is saying we're gearing towards meeting council chambers next month in June. I got a question for him, Your Worship. Is so so it sounds like he's getting approvals from the health authority. When does that start? Although our meeting is not in June, when does that start?
I'm sorry, Councillor, you were breaking down. I'm sorry.
You're breaking down. Okay, try it again, Terry. Councillor Bernard.
The meeting that you're saying is geared towards next month. We should be meeting in council chambers next month, and you've got the health authority guidelines to do that. We
are working with them to make sure we ensure we adhere to proper guidelines. That's correct.
So when does that start?
It looks like we're trying to promote or get back to the committees in June, but again, we're looking at a couple points of separation, a couple options that we want to explore, but the intent to start that back in June.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that good?
Thank you.
So, Councillor Bernard, that will be put on the agenda. Mr. Kelly and I will put it on the agenda, and it will be first part of June. Is that okay?
Yeah. Or unless they relax the guidelines earlier. Yeah.
Okay, good. Is that all right, Councillor Duran?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So the resolution, do you want to read it there, Mr. Kelly?
And yes, Your Worship.
Your Worship. I got another question.
Well, can we just go with the resolution? What's your question there, Councillor Twill?
Well, as you know, we've been discussing, speeding traffic in the neighborhoods, the neighborhood parks, school zones. Councillor Duran, do you have anything that you might add to the meeting tonight, where there's a plan of action to deal with speeding in the neighborhoods, school zones, and the parks? Do you have anything that you can add? That's one of the major issues that's plaguing the different neighborhoods throughout the city of Charlottetown. All councillors are hearing from their constituents on that particular issue as well.
Councillor Duran?
Yes, thank you, Worship. Thank you, Councillor Twill. Yes, we did talk about it at the committee level. I think all council, last month or 2 months, we got memos outlining what the police are doing with speeding and traffic concerns. It showed exactly what would have to be moved forward if you were looking for your traffic division. We did discuss it at the committee level, and the chief was quite open to, or the deputy as well, is to, just a reminder to staff to do diligence, like in everything. They have a briefing before every shift. This was asked by the committee to ask the chief and the deputies to inform the officers, just a nice informative question or answer, I guess you could say, is to remind them of traffic duties in around schools and churches and around the communities. It's a busy time for the officers, and they do their traffic on the highways, and when people are going fast at University Avenue or Brackley Point Road, they're trying to do their best. You have concerns about around schools. They're asked to do their patrols as well, to be diligent when they're on shift, to try and do as much traffic as they can. And that was from the committee, to please ask the sergeants or whatever that are in charge of the shift to remind the officers to do that as well, along with their other duties. So if you're looking for an update, we did discuss it at the committee level, and we asked if they could just do their due diligence, just like everything else they do, part of their job. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's the answer you wanted, Councillor Twill, but
Well,
we go?
Councillor Mayor Brown, if I can respond.
Okay, but we'd like to get to the resolution. Go ahead there.
Well, to be honest with you, Councillor Councillor Duran, sorry. I think when you look at the existing budget, there's got to be an opportunity within that existing budget to introduce a traffic division.
Yeah.
And start dedicating some personnel to traffic, because there's more traffic now on the roads with people wanting to be out and about, motorcycles. I mean, it's just endless what's taking place now. And we've got to come up with a plan, and we've got to communicate that plan to the community, to the neighborhoods and communities. That plan has to be communicated. So please outline that.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. But we go back to we've asked this question pretty near every month, and every month we say the same thing. We just walk around the room a little bit different. The recommendations from the police and the deputies was to maintain the current combined general duty patrol and traffic enforcement. Support this moving forward and work on our efforts to introduce e-ticketing, if that's something we can do. Every month we ask the same question. Every month we come back with the same answer. The police and the deputies are the trained professionals. They have the knowledge and ability to determine whether a traffic unit is warranted or not. And they come back continuously every month saying no. So I don't know, unless you have a course in traffic, control more than the rest of us, this has got to stop every month.
Yeah.
I know you have concerns. I know it, and I feel it, and I understand where the residents on certain streets are concerned.
Yeah.
But the residents in every street are concerned. They're concerned with the traffic, the drugs, the speeding, the criminal codes. The police can only do so much, especially in this pandemic. I mean, this is reduced staff. We're trying to do our best. know, we don't want to stress the officers out. They have a lot to respond to. So, you know, as far as the traffic unit, I think our committee spoke clearly that we're going with the recommendation of the chief and the deputies.
Yeah. Councillor Duran,
Yes, sir.
can we go with your resolution, because we're going into 2 hours right now.
Sure.
3 hours we have to cut off.
So,
Councillor,
can I just say one thing? I'm sorry, but to help Councillor Durong answer the question, could we add that when we're going to meet about the drugs? Could we add that to the traffic, maybe?
Councillor McLeod, that's a great point. That'll be added to the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, can we go with the resolution?
Yes, your worship, moved by
Thank you.
Councillor Drawn, second by Councillor Bernard, that be resolved that the city of Charlottetown accepts the proposal for the supply of Milestone software and video server in the amount of $89,766.12, including shipping and taxes, and that this amount be expensed to the approved 2020-2021 capital budget, your worship.
Okay, moved by Councillor Duran, second by Councillor Bernard. Any questions? Question called?
Questions called?
Okay. Councillor McLeod,
In favor.
Councillor Twill,
In favor.
Councillor Jacob,
In favor.
Councillor Rivard,
In favor.
Councillor Duran,
In favor?
Mayor Cody,
In favor.
Councillor Bernard,
In favor?
Councillor McKay,
In favor.
Councillor Duffy,
In favor?
and Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Okay, that's your report there, Councillor Duran. Thank you very much. And can we go to the next report, which is
Water and sewer, your worship.
water and sewer? And that's
Deputy Mayor Cody.
Councillor Cody, Deputy Mayor Cody. Anything? Okay, Councillor Cody?
Thank you, Your Worship. Our committee did meet. There is a report in your package. There's one resolution for council to consider tonight. If there's any questions or comments, I will do my best to try to answer them.
I have a comment, Your Worship.
Go right ahead there, Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, Councillor Cody, for your report. And this is just a good shout out to the water sewer crews. There was an incident here in Beasley last evening, and at 10:30 at night, I called Mike Pickett, and within a half an hour, there was Ernie Durong and his crews and 2 trucks here to fix the problem on a Mother's Day evening. So just a shout out to the crews there, and great job, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councillor
Thank you,
McLeod.
Councilor McLeod.
Your worship, I have a question.
Councillor Rivard, Ward
Thank you,
7.
Your worship. Thank you. Councillor Cody, thanks for your report. I do have something that I would like for you to take back to your committee if possible. I received an email and a call last month from a resident in my area that spent some time down south, about 11 weeks. They did their due diligence with regards to shutting down their water, except for one toilet, which they didn't have access to shut the water off. They left it. When they returned, they found out that the rod had rusted and the toilet ran kind of nonstop. So they were shocked to see a bill for about just short of $1,400. Again, an elderly couple. And during this tough time, they had reached out to me and asked if there was anything I can do. I passed the information on to staff, and the response, which I'm guessing is quite consistent with any response we give back to residents, is we can't do anything. It's pretty black and white, which I can certainly appreciate. But again, what I'm asking the committee to do is to maybe take back and maybe soften the approach a little bit and treat kind of case by case basis under the circumstances. Where we talk about giving relief to certain people, we talk about giving relief for parking meters and everything else, and this lovely couple had got hit with a fairly big surprise. And anyways, I know what the MGA says that council can't get involved. I don't want to get involved. I just want your committee to take it back, discuss it, see if there's any opportunity for moving forward case by case that there might be a softer approach and some sympathy, I guess, given to these bills. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that, Councillor Rivard.
Thank you.
There's one resolution, your worship.
Yes, sir.
I do have one comment before you go to that. Worship, can you hear me?
Yes? Is that Councillor Bernard?
It is, yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Just want to make a comment, as Jason probably knows, but the East Rowley Lagoon is now closed, and any wastewater is going to the treatment plant, which is great news. I think the conversation started about 4 years ago. It's good to see the project coming to an end. I believe now they're in the process right now of draining it and cleaning out any sludge and stuff that's in the bottom of those cells. So just wanted to say thanks. It was a big project, so seeing it come to fruition and come to an end is great. And so there's going to be quite a bit of green space down there when these cells when they're completed and filled in. So just thanks to Jason and the committee and their management staff. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Bernard. You kind of got ahead of me here. I was just kind of going to wait for Mr. Kelly to read this resolution because there's, I think Council will see that's a little bit more good news coming from eliminating that lagoon in East Royalty.
Right on.
Yeah, I've been promising it since 2010.
What's that?
I've been promising it since 2010. Do you want to read the resolution?
Another false promise.
And yes, Your Worship.
Go ahead, sir.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Jason Cody, second by Julie McCabe. Be resolved that the City Council adopt the amended attached condition management plan for the management of shellfish harvesting in conditionally managed harvest areas adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant and collection system located in Shelltown, and that the Mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question?
Questions called.
Okay. Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Tweel?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor?
Councillor McCabe?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor?
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Carried. Okay. Is there anything else there, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Cody?
No, that's everything, Your Worship.
Okay. And did you want to give an update on the East Rowley Lagoon, or you're all right with that?
Well, I guess if council's okay, we just passed the resolution, but I guess to Council Bernard's point, it was a good project. It's great to have done. We're gonna have some green space there, and it's gonna open up some additional area for shell fishing in the harbor. If you look at the attached map there, so that's, like I say, council voted on the resolution, so I'm sure they're up to speed on what this closed lagoon means to that area in the city.
Yeah, and Councillor, Deputy Mayor Cody, I think Richard McEwen stated that the flow that's going from that lagoon into the wastewater treatment plant on Riverside Drive is a great test for what will be taken from Stratford. Is that what he said? I think that was a comment.
You're correct, Your Worship.
Yeah, and then the sludge cleanup, that there's a plan in place for that too, right?
You're right. You're correct.
Okay, great. So it's going to be great there, Councillor Bernard.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. And like I say, we'll have a meeting with the constituents and see what we're going to do with that green space.
Yeah, promise made, promise delivered.
Always.
Okay, can we move on? Public Works. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know we're pressed for time. We're into our third hour, so I'll keep it brief. As the CAO advised us at the start of the meeting, two of our resolutions tonight have been withdrawn. Those concern the plow truck and the add-ons to it. So the staff wants to do a little bit more work on those two aspects. So we're down to 13 resolutions we'll be looking at tonight, which is, as you pointed out, or as Councillor Bernard pointed out, is quite unusual for Public Works, 13 resolutions in one night. Anyway, first I'd like to just talk about ongoing work in the city of Charlottetown, the Public Works area. Work has started. working under the rules and regulations of the Department of Health for the safety of our staff, safety of the general public. What we have started to do in the ongoing work is the street patching, which is the potholes only, sidewalk maintenance, catch basin repair, street cleaning, street line refreshing, just the long streets like North River Road, St. Peter's Road, University Avenue, and the park flower bed cleanup. So that's all of the activities that have been going on. And I think the city looks better for it. People will notice a great improvement in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Another aspect of bringing our staff back is to keep track of the numbers that we brought on and how we're doing in light of everything else that's going on in this world. So we've basically comparing where we were last month at this time, or last year at this month, as far as people returning. Our QP staff last year, for example, this month that we're this time period we're in, we had 25 of our permanent staff, QP staff, on the job. This year we have 24, so we're only down 1, so that we're moving right along. The seasonal staff, we had last year at this time we had 69. We have 55 because some of the work that the seasonal staff does, they're not ready for yet, so we're working towards that. The entry-level folks, we have 23 as of this date, whereby this time last year we had 43. So we're working diligently to keep these people coming along. And our casual staff, we have 13 at present, when we usually have 39 at this point in time. So we're moving there. We're moving along. We're getting there, and I hope just people can be patient with us. We can now move on to the resolutions. We have 13 resolutions to pass, and or to consider, and I will answer any questions anyone may have.
Do you have any questions, councillors?
I have one, Your Worship.
Okay, Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy, for your report. I'm just going to refer to some emails that I started in 2015, and I'll run it right quick through. I just got a call today from a resident of Parkview Drive. They were flushing the systems out in that area, and it was again flooded his front yard. He said it's continuously, the water won't seep away because of the culverts are very, very small. I haven't seen them so small in Parkview Drive and Elizabeth Street. I had asked that in 2015, and we were trying to get design reviews and construction comprehensive projects on the go, and finally it came back to maybe this year. So I'm just asking, would it be possible after a 5-year wait that, there has been a design package. Someone did go out and take shots of the area, and I'd just like to, with all the problems they've been having with the water over the last winter or two, is there any way this could be added or looked at, or possibility of trying to get these culverts removed and replaced with bigger culverts for this year? Is there anything like that planned yet?
Councillor Drawn, there's nothing planned in that regard. This is an operational issue. Maybe I'll turn it over to Mr. Adams, who would shed some further light on the situation. I know culverts are a very
Thank you.
focal part of the whole operation of City Hall. So maybe I'll turn it over to Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Are we going to have a fire tonight?
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. So as in regards to that question there, we were aware that there has been design done for that area to do some ditch infilling. But however, for this year, we've as was passed during the budget, we're expecting to use that funds for ditch infilling for any large culvert replacements. This would include some of our aging infrastructure in the city. And so as of right now, we have a consultant doing some inspection work, and they're working toward developing a plan of action so that we can determine what areas of the city need work first to expend those funds for this year.
Okay. Can I just respond, Councillor Duffy? I understand that, I've been told time and time again, it's been the Queen's Arms project, that was in 17, the Stockman Phase 2, that was in 18. These residents are saying, Bob, can you not do anything? And I understand, there's limits and financial constraints, but 5 years of asking, the guy says today, there's all bugs, mosquitoes, everything, every storm in the summer and winter, it's just not going away. And I thank you for doing the design review of the area. I mean, that did move forward a few years ago, but just to be put off again, like, where does that go? Or what am I supposed to tell the residents about that?
I would say, Councillor Drong, you should tell the residents that the city reacts to the needs and requirements of the city in much the same as people in life. They address the worst situations first. That's the very same way they act at our emergency department at our local general hospital. They triage the patients. The worst patients are the ones that are addressed first, and we use the same sort of procedure when we're figuring out, with the dollars we have to work with, what is the greatest need. Now, in my ward here, I'll have people tell me that this street has to be paved, and I tell them, well, it'll be paved when it is among the worst streets in the city, and the people that are making that decision are the staff that survey it. So when we make the list, great. When we don't make the list, well, maybe next year. And that's the thing they have to understand. I think when you see the culvert work that's going to be done in the city of Charlottetown, with the dollars we have this year compared to what some people, and there's no doubt these people see it as a direct need, but when they compare that to what's going to be done, they will soon see the reason we have to do this major work first.
Yeah. Okay.
But Councillor Duffy,
yes,
we did get an increase in our GTF. It went from 3.3 to 6.6 million.
Yes.
And I think the Federation of Canadian Municipalities are trying to do the same for this fiscal year.
Sure.
And probably use it for operational and capital. So, sure, there's a possibility that we can rethink what we want to do for the remaining season if that additional money comes. Correct?
Well, yeah, we can always rethink, review, and reevaluate. We can always do that if it's for the good, the general good of the city. But I think, Mayor Brown, you realize the importance of the work that is anticipated to be done by Public Works in this area of culverts. I mean, it's very important work, and it's very, it's paramount that this work be done.
Yeah.
Because the ramifications could be,
well,
not pleasant.
Yeah. And we could be doing, if there's extra money there could be doing more work too. But
sure,
let's just see what happens for this year.
Sure, we're always open. Yeah.
Any other
You want to
questions?
turn to the resolutions now, Your Worship?
I'm just opening. Any more questions before we go to the resolutions?
Sure.
And could I just say,
Your Worship, I just have a quick question.
Go ahead, Councillor Rivers.
Yeah, just a quick question. Thanks, Councillor Duffy, for your
Yes.
package. The spring cleanup for people's lawns and things of that nature. I know you had summarized that
Yes.
parks are getting done. When do you anticipate that starting? I know I'm getting lots of calls from residents. Just asking the question. They understand why it hasn't started. They just want to know kind of when.
Okay. Maybe I'll turn that over to Mr. Adams. It's a day-to-day function, so maybe Mr. Adams could provide an update. Councillor Rivard?
Your Worship, thank you. Yes, so Councillor Rivard, in regards to your question, every week we're reevaluating our schedules based on making sure that we can bring in the staff. We have the proper vehicles and the equipment for all the staff to make sure everyone's doing their work safely and these plans and protocols in place. But with that said, we're getting more efficient at that plan, and I would expect you'll see some more staff in regards to neighborhood cleanups within the next couple weeks.
No, that's awesome, guys. Thank you. I know there's lots of limitations and struggles, and no, I appreciate that. At least I can tell anyone who calls me that's the update. Thank you.
Help is on the way.
Councillor Duffy, could I just ask this question to Scott about how is the physical distance in working with the workers that are out seasonal, early entry-level seasonals or casuals and our full-times. Is it working well, Scott?
Your worship, yes, we've been meeting with our staff. Our superintendents have been reminding them daily to social distance. Some are to report directly to the job site, while maybe the crew chief is the one that goes and picks up the vehicle. So, and on site, we haven't heard of any complaints or anyone noticing that they haven't been practicing physical distancing, at all times. So far, from what I'm hearing, things have been very good, and the staff have been very respectful of making sure that they are practicing physical distancing.
Yeah, just be smart, stay apart. Okay, Councillor Duffy, do you want to go with your first resolution, number 3?
Yeah, we'll jump right to number 3.
Okay, Your Worship.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that resolved as per the conditions of the RFQ for 3 9.4 steel trapezoidal dump bodies for 60-inch chassis, the submission of parts for truck in the amount of $39,640.50, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to issue any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Okay. Question?
Question called.
Okay. Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Verd.
Well, I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Great. Carried.
Your Worship,
Mr.
moved
Kelly?
by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, be resolved that as per the conditions of the RFQ for 2020 tow behind wood chipper, the submission of McFarland's Industrial in the amount of $30,566.94, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question?
Question called.
Okay. Councillor McLeod.
In favor, sir.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Carried. Okay,
Your
Mr.
Worship, moved by Councillor
Kelly?
Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, be resolved that as per the conditions of the request for quotations on 2020 fleet vehicles in respect to 3 3500 series crew cab trucks, chassis, and 1 full-size marked police vehicle, the submission of Reliable Motors Limited in the amount of $202,631, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
And that's Reliable Motors, Charlottetown.
That's correct, Your Worship.
Question? Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Duran.
Favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Okay, Mr. Kelly.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, resolved that as per the conditions of the request for quotations on 2020 fleet vehicles in respect to 3 half-ton crew cab trucks and 1 5500 series crew cab truck chassis, the submission of Summerside Chrysler Dodge in the amount of $217,308.60, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, And further, that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question?
Question called.
Question called. Councillor McLeod.
In favor, sir.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
Favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor?
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor?
Carried. Mr.
Your Worship,
Kelly?
moved by Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor Rivard, that the council approve CADC contracting for the construction of the prefab concrete components to Stresscon Limited in the amount of $1,460,000 plus HST, and that council approves the total capital budget for the city parkade capital repairs of $3.2 million, and that the total offsetting revenue of $1.3 million, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
And Councillor Duffy, I want to thank you for putting this forward. This is good news for downtown Charlottetown.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
Yeah, just 1 second, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
The last line there, it says, therefore, the fiscal capital budget should be adjusted to show the total anticipated capital expenditures of $3.2 million and include an offset funding of 1.3. Did we approve everything? Is this, like, what are you doing here? Is it just being adjusted or what?
So
You wanna
previously,
do-
sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
So
Go ahead there.
previously, council allowed or awarded the ability for CDC to move the parkade expansion forward. That cost is $2.8 million. Council also approved during the discussion during the capital budget $500,000 for repairs and maintenance to the three parkades, in particular Queen, and totaling for a total of 3.2, with an offsetting of 1.3 from the province. Whatever reason they didn't show up fully in the budget documents, these are here for greater clarity and direction from council as previously approved.
Is that clear, Councillor Duran?
Well, I didn't understand where the money was coming from, but
No, it's a good question.
this was approved by us and we want the parkades to be improved. I mean, that's certainly a good thing. I just didn't know where the money was coming from, but thank you for the clarification.
Thank you for the question. Question call?
Question's called.
Okay, Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Bird.
I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor?
Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor?
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor?
Carried, 10-0.
Your Worship, moved
Kelly?
by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard. Resolved that as per the conditions of the request for quotations on the 2020 trailer-mounted 600-gallon tank hydro seeder, the submission of Park Lane Marking Limit in the amount of $51,476.30, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Any questions?
Yeah, just one, Your Worship.
Go ahead. Councillor Duran.
Councillor Duffy, is this it says a trailer-mounted hydro seeder, like, I have a number of residents that the lawns or the ditches were infilled and it went to all weeds. Would this be something that could be used in the process of trying to revitalize their front yard and to plant new grass? Would this be something that this machine could be used for?
I would assume so. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be a seed problem, it could be a soil problem. I think we rectified that a couple of years ago when we started buying sifted soil and better seed. And I realize there's some residents are still suffering from the hangover of the work done maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And yeah, I would say that's quite possible.
You know, that's great. I appreciate that. I know I get calls every year, all through the summer. Can you help me? And you know, when I talked to a supervisor, they said, well, we don't have this. So I was pretty excited to see us going forward, that this could be used for that. So I'll be able to tell them it's a possibility that we may be able to do some help for them. Thank
I
you.
would say so, yes.
We're going to be greening the city.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Question?
Questions called.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard. Councillor Bernard.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Councillor McKay.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Carried. Thank you.
Your
Mr.
worship,
Kelly.
moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, resolved that as per the conditions of the request for quotations on backhoe and truck hire for culvert services, the lowest emission of Lee McDonald Construction in the amount of $95.34 per hour, taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO hereby authorize to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your worship.
Any questions? Question?
Called.
Called. Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey from Ward 5.
In favor, your worship.
Okay. Carried.
Your worship,
Number
moved
10.
by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, resolved that as per the conditions of the request for quote on the supply of hot mix patching asphalt for the 2020 season, the only submission of the Island Construction Limited in the amount of $351,403.99, all tax included, be accepted, Your worship.
Okay. Question? Question called.
Called.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
Favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, the next one.
Yes, Your worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, resolved that as per the conditions for the request for quote on the ready-mix concrete supply for the 2020 season, the only submission of Skirman Concrete in the amount of $293,997.50, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-21 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO hereby authorized to the standard contract agreements, Your worship.
Okay. Question? Question called.
Question called, your worship.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill. Councillor Twill. Must be on.
In favor. In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Duran.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
Favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
10-0, carried.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, resolved that as per the conditions of the request for quotations on the 2020 wheel loader complete with bucket, plow, and wing assembly, the submission of Torment Cat Maritimes in the amount of $347,489.75, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-21 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question? Okay. Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Duran? Sorry, Councillor Rivard?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Duran?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
Favor.
Councillor Julie McCabe?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
All passed, carried. Mr.
Your Worship,
Kelly?
moved by Councillor Duffy and second by Councillor Bernard, resolved as per the conditions for the request, that per the conditions of the request for quote on asphalt testing services for the 2020 season, the low submission of East Tech Engineering Consultants, Inc. in the amount of $45,568.75, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-21 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question?
Question called.
Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
In favor.
Councillor Duran?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
Favor.
Councillor McCabe?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
And Councillor Kevin Ramsey.
In favor, Mayor Philip Brown.
Next
Your Worship.
one there, Mr. Number 14, is it?
Yes, Your Worship, moved by Councillor
good.
Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, resolved that as per the conditions of the request for quote on 2020 spring tree order, the low submission of Dutch Master in the amount of $31,648, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question? Okay. Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
In favor.
Councillor Duran?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Terry Bernard?
Favor.
Councillor McCabe?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Okay,
Your Worship,
next one, sir.
moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, resolved that as per the conditions for the request for proposals for 4 municipal sidewalk tractors and attachments, the submission of Saunders Equipment Limited in the amount of $673,440, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been previously approved in the 2020-2021 capital budget, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Councillor Duffy, I might have forgotten,
Yes.
but do some of the attachments include sweepers for sidewalks?
Yes.
Okay. And plows. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Question? Okay. Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
In favor.
Councillor Duran?
Favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
Favor.
Councillor McCabe?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Okay, carried. And that is it. Thank you very much, Councillor Duffy. You spent a lot of money.
Mayor Brown, we shattered all records tonight. We shattered all records tonight. 13 resolutions, not one negative vote.
Nope, nope. That's a superior record.
That's it.
We must have
That's
had
it?
one of those. We must have had one of those in planning at one time.
No, never.
No, yeah.
Greg, back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
back when you knew that fella.
Not putting out this kind of money.
Economic Development, Councillor Kevin Ramsey from Ward 5.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Economic Development Tourism Events Management Committee met May 5th, and the open draft minutes are included in your package. The Charlottetown Arts Advisory Board did not meet this month. We have one resolution, and before we start, Your Worship, I'd like to have a shout out to the staff, Ron Atkinson, Wayne Long, Laurel Lee, and Charlotte Nicholson, because as you know, we usually have 4 or 5 functions going on right now in the city, and they're forever working at them. And some are delayed, some are canceled. We were able to secure some for the following year, so we're doing okay that way, but we're on the phones and they're on the websites every day talking to these people. And we're trying to keep everything moving and keep coming back in the city, like whenever this virus happens to leave us, but they're working day and night at this thing, and they're keeping all of us updated on it, as you noticed. So I'd like to thank the staff for going that extra mile. Thank you.
And a shout out to the committee.
Especially you, Your Worship.
The chair.
Any questions? Any questions? You get one resolution, Councillor Ramsey?
Yes, I do, Your Worship.
Yeah.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor McLeod. Be resolved that the council adopt the amended events guidelines as attached in order to accommodate inclusion of reference to the city's smoke-free places bylaw, Your Worship.
Okay, any comments? No. I know one person that really appreciates this, Frank Morrison.
Yes.
He gave me a call and said, great to see this go through, or go to council.
Yeah.
Question? Okay, Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivera.
In favor.
Councillor Durant.
Favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
In favor?
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor, Your Worship.
Thank you. That's it, sir?
Yes,
Your
thank you
Worship.
to all the committee members also.
Environment is next. Councillor Terry McLeod.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The Environment and Sustainability Committee met on April the 28th, I believe it was. The Mayor's Task Force, Active Transportation, and the Food Council did not meet since our last meeting. A couple of highlights, Your Worship. Monthly ridership for the Charlottetown Transit System decreased by 75% in April of 2020 compared to April of 2019, which was down to about 12,581 rides for the month. COVID-19's taken its toll. So far for 2020 transit ridership, it's down 14% overall compared to January to April of 2019. So, the transit services they're still limited just to essential travel passengers for work and for groceries and other necessary supplies. And just want, on behalf of the Environment Committee and Mayor and Council, I'd like to thank T3 Transit for the continue to adapt to the challenges related to COVID-19 and finding ways to safely continue the transit service during this pandemic. We know this service is essential, and many of our city residents rely on it. So just want to make a good, loud thank you out to T3 Transit. As Councillor Ramsey reported in his report, we had to cancel or postpone a number of sustainability-related in-person events and promotions this spring. And just to give you just a little list, again, to say thanks to the staff, like the Michael Grant program.
You went froze. Just 1 second. It's frozen in time.
Yeah. That'd be scary to have him frozen in time.
He's been canceled too.
Austin Powers, frozen.
Yes, Austin Powers. Imagine bringing him back 40 years.
Councillor McLeod, are you with us? We lost you out in cyberspace.
Good time to ask a question.
I think Bernie hit the wrong button.
My question's called.
Question's called. Councillor McLeod, thank you. The question's been called. Are you in favor?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a yes or no.
It looks like opposed.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes, Your Worship.
can we find out
if you
where
would-
he's
And we're trying to check the screen, and he looks like he's present, Your Worship, but unfortunately, he's not, his mic is muted. It looks like he's leaving the meeting for maybe coming back in again to try to reboot.
Why don't you go to the next committee and then come back to him, Your Worship?
Or the vice chair can take it over. You're the vice chair.
It's up to you. I'm sure he'd like to make the announcement, but it's up to you.
The next committee is strategic planning and priorities. Strategic priorities. Do you want to move into that, Councillor Yankoff?
Sure.
We'll go back to him.
I'm back at you.
Oh, wait now. You're back. Where are you?
My laptop died. So anyway,
That's why you plug it in.
what perk did you not get?
No.
You finished your whole report.
Why don't we
Right
tell
after you said, thank you, Your Worship.
It's like the old Getz Park. Barry, you did get to
Okay,
the
so where we at?
transit, and you were thanking T3 and all the work they were doing.
Right.
Want to
Yeah,
finish
and
that up?
So, after that, they're still trying to find ways to safely continue with the transit service during the pandemic, and it's such an essential service for so many people. So it's very important, and they're doing a great job. Something similar to Kevin Ramsey's report there with economic development. Our staff as well have been busy on the lines with canceling and postponing a number of sustainability-related in-person events. Some of those would be the micro grant program, Arbor Day, Great Trail Cleanup, Business Tree Challenge, Wild Things in the City, Food Council, asset mapping workshops. So the staff, they're continuing to do what they can and trying to put whatever time restraints we have. That maybe some of these could happen, but very unlikely. There's one resolution and one bylaw amendment. The resolution is to demonstrate our support for the Canadian Urban Transit Authority. It's a call to the federal government to provide financial support to transit providers during these uncertain times. The bylaw amendment is to update our tree protection bylaw with a few necessary adjustments, including improved signage and clarity on around pruning and the tree removals by emergency situations. And just before I answer any questions, I know this bylaw can be a sensitive one, and anytime you're getting on private property is always a sensitive issue for everybody, but this bylaw has been in place already, and if Ramona would want to give a little history of the bylaw maybe before we go into it, just so that everyone is on the same page with what this bylaw is all about.
Could Councillor McLeod, could we do the resolution first, and then when we go to the bylaw, we'll ask Ramona to give her background? Is that all right?
Yeah, it counts as good. Yeah, good.
Yeah. I think it's an important resolution. I think that's what we want to get it read.
Yeah. Okay.
And I agree with you, Councillor McLeod. Halifax, Ottawa, Toronto, they're all losing massive amounts of money in the transit system. So your resolution is just timely.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Bernard, that the declaration to urge the Government of Canada to provide urgent funding to assure the viability of public transit during the COVID-19 pandemic and to aid transit operators rebuilding ridership. Whereas the situation of an unprecedented drop in public transit ridership provoked by the COVID-19 outbreak, accompanied by massive revenue losses, is affecting public transit agencies right across Canada and putting in jeopardy their financial viability and future ability to operate. And whereas the Canadian Urban Transit Association, CUDA, Canada's largest public transport lobby, the membership of which includes most Canadian transit agencies, has called for urgent emergency funding to address the immediate liquidity issues of transit operators while providing financial stability while ridership rebuilds. And whereas CUDA estimates as many as 40% of systems may require bridge funding over the coming months, requiring some $1.2 billion to help them keep the buses and trains running. And whereas CUDA is seeking $400 million a month to keep services running as farebox and other revenue drop by up to 100%. And whereas CUDA notes that it will likely take some time for transit operators to rebuild ridership to February 2020 levels during a gradually return to more normal economic activity. And whereas without a quick infusion of funds by the Government of Canada, it is impossible to assure that the gains made over the past decade in growing the model share of all rides taken by collective transit will be not lost. And whereas while transit is a provincial jurisdiction, only the Government of Canada has the budgetary capacity to stabilize public transit during the COVID-19 emergency. Therefore, be it resolved that the Charlottetown City Council endorse CUDA's request to the Government of Canada for emergency funding to provide immediate liquidity to transit operators and on ongoing funding to alleviate revenue loss as ridership rebuilds. And a copy of this resolution be sent to the Prime Minister of Canada, the Minister of Transportation for Canada, and the Minister of Finance of Canada, Your Worship.
Yep, great resolution.
Yep.
You want to call the question, or you want to say anything to it there, Councillor McLeod?
No, I'm all good. Thanks.
Okay.
Questions called.
Question? Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Yankup?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Ferron?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor.
Councillor McKay?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Okay, your bylaw there, Councillor McLeod, do you want Ramona to give some background?
Yeah, if you don't mind, councillors
Hold on.
had some questions. So if Ramona can just give a brief background on the bylaw and its amendments.
Are you there, Ramona? Mr. Kelly, is Ramona there?
She was on screen, Your Worship. Let me just check. I'm just going back for review.
Are you there, Ramona?
She shows here, Your Worship.
Probably making supper.
And this is the first reading too, right, Councillor McLeod?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It looks like she's online, Your Worship, but for some reason not coming forward.
Okay, we are getting a first reading. The second reading, we can get some background from her then.
Your Worship,
I'm fine with that.
this is to amend the City of Charlottetown Tree Protection Bylaw to clarify public street protection within the City of Charlottetown, the tree protection zone signage requirements, emergency pruning of city trees, and to correct minor topographical errors, Your Worship. Be resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Tree Protection Bylaw be read first time, moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Bernard, Your Worship.
Your Worship, I have a question.
Oh, good. Councillor Rivard?
Thank you. So, Councillor McLeod, thank you for your report. And I know I asked the question during our committee meeting. It's with regards to heritage trees on private properties. And I just want to ensure that nothing has changed in these amendments that would stop or not allow a homeowner to remove a tree if they were looking to put, let's say, a pool on their private property, attaching an addition to their home, be it like an in-law suite type style, something like that. My understanding from our committee level was that this wasn't allowed. So, a homeowner would have to try to find a workaround to get around a heritage tree, which I don't fully support. But if you can offer some clarity to that.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole purpose of the bylaw is to protect heritage trees, and a big part of the component is to make people aware that any of those big trees, they could be heritage trees, and we would like you to communicate with the city, right? And hopefully we can work out a scenario that would be best for both the homeowner and the city when it comes to protecting heritage trees or an infestation. We have to have some type of bylaw in place. So, broken tree limbs and that type of thing is is where our
I sure are on
problem was.
screen.
But the bylaw protects the heritage
I'll try
trees,
and call it.
and by the homeowner reaching out saying, "Can I cut that tree down?" Well, then we can give the do's and don'ts, or what's good, and what's bad, and hopefully that we can come up with a plan. Maybe there's a way that you can, after discussing with the city, that the homeowner might see a way that you could work with the tree and the pool or the addition. But if not, I think the idea is that we're just trying to control people from just going out cutting down their trees. Just, it's a communication piece, really, more than anything.
Okay, so just a follow-up question.
Go ahead there, Councillor Rivera.
Go ahead.
So thank you, Councillor McLeod. So you're saying that if in the case or in the event that someone buys a home, they're unaware they have a heritage tree, they buy the home, they have plans to put an addition on the home, or you're saying that the city will work with the homeowner and that it's not written in stone or etched in the tree, if you will, that it can't come down. Is that correct? Even if it's a heritage tree.
And your worship, just to help clarify, I do have Ramona on phone standby if you wish to answer some questions.
Okay, Ramona, did you hear Councillor Rivera's question?
Can you turn off your computer for a minute, Ramona?
Yeah, I muted it there. Are you still getting feedback?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Hi everybody. Sorry you couldn't hear me there. I listened to your question. So just to clarify, this tree protection bylaw only applies to city trees except for those heritage trees. And so Councillor Rivard had just brought up the case of a heritage tree being located on a private property. So just to sort of give some context to this, like when we did look at our street tree inventory, where we have started inventory those heritage trees that are on private property, we only have at this moment 10 heritage trees that are identified on private property. So there's not a lot of them. They have to be 1 meter in diameter. So we're looking at large trees that you can't get your arms around, and essentially they have to be one of 5 sort of specific species that we're really trying to protect. So one, I don't think this challenge is going to come up all that often. That said, if there was a scenario where someone wanted to put something in on their property and a heritage tree was located in that space, we would want to work with them to see if there was ways to save that tree, to work around it. And the analogy that I had made at our committee meeting is like our heritage assets that we have in our homes that have been designated as heritage. We're looking to protect some of these heritage trees that have been around much longer than we have, and are really sort of a community value. But to Councillor Rivar's point, we would absolutely work with the homeowner to see if there was ways around that. If it came down to, at the end of the day, a removal of a large caliper heritage tree in our community, I would think we would probably, if the homeowner wasn't willing to work around it, we would want to bring it back to council. Is this something that we really want to see proceed? Like a shed over 100-year-old tree, I guess, is kind of the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. And your worship, and I'll end with this. I appreciate that, Ramona. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't, like I said, etched in stone, where it was so black and white that, if the case did happen, that we would just say absolutely no. That I just want to make sure that I guess the communication will always be open, and that we will absolutely work with the homeowner, and that's key. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure that we do that at the staff level.
Yeah. Thanks, Ramona.
Okay.
So, your worship, I'll go back, and so it's resolved, moved by Councilor McLeod, seconded by Councilor Bernard, be resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Tree Protection Bylaw be read for the first time, your worship.
Shall it carry?
Pass.
Your
Go
worship,
ahead, sir.
resolved that the bylaw now be approved at the city bylaw, and that it be entitled the City of Charlottetown Tree Protection Bylaw, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councilor McLeod, seconded by Councilor Bernard, your worship.
Shall it pass?
Pass.
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 I think that's it, Councillor McLeod. Thank you. I thought you got frozen out on us, but you're back, and thank you very much. Can we go to Councillor Yankov, Strategic Priorities and Intergovernmental Cooperation?
Thank you, Your Worship. The Strategic Priorities and Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee met on Friday, May 1st. The minutes are included in your package. The Affordable Housing Committee, as well as the Youth Engagement Advisory Committee, both did not meet, and there are no resolutions for your consideration. And if I have any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yankoff. Thank you.
Just under the 5 minutes,
I
Councillor.
love that background.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have two questions.
Councillor Duran.
Thank you. Thank you for your updates, Councilor Yankoff. I'm just wondering if you can give us any update for the new fire hall or the rink application. Where are we, or can you tell us anything about that? Where we're at in planning for those two projects, or are we not
Sure.
planning for them?
Thank you, Councilor Duran, for your questions. I certainly recognize your anticipation on these, as do we. The update on the multi-purpose project that was being done should be back to us, if I recall, Mr. Kelly. I think that is the middle of June. Is that correct?
That's the time frame we are currently working with.
I thought it was May 22nd.
It got, if you recall, Your Worship, it got extended, Your Worship.
Oh, till mid-June?
Yes, Your Worship.
And the other issue?
And then in terms of the fire hall, in our last meeting, it was discussed, and it was going back to the fire department for some further clarification. Am I saying that correctly, Mr. Kelly?
That's correct, and there were some questions raised in terms of the size, and that has come back for discussion.
Yep, and so I would hope that in our next council meeting, I will have more to report.
Good. Councillor Duran?
Thank you. I'm just, before this gets too far ahead, especially with the fire hall, I was just wondering, when your committee meets, could the rest of the council have input, before any plans or anything like that we could all sit down or even be part of seeing a design or where we're going? I know your committee looks at things, but I just want to caution everyone, I'd like to see all of council be involved in these two major decisions that we're faced with.
You're alert with that, Councillor Yankoff?
Yeah, I'm only assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, Your Worship, and Mr. Kelly, that once we get to that step, the next thing is back to council for more discussion. Is that correct?
That is correct. Both of them will go back to council
Yep.
in closed session for discussion and update as to what's going on, and council can either concur or alter that outcome.
Yeah. Is that all right, Councillor Duran?
Well, that's great. Thank you.
The last meeting was quite productive, Councillor Yankoff, and I was glad that we had the participants there, so, yeah, we're moving forward.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Yankoff. Thank you for your patience. And Council Advisory Committee, no report.
No report.
And it's 7:58, and I just want to say thank you, and Mr. Kelly, who's been over in the other room, reading the resolutions and taking care of the controls, and all of you for staying on for such a extended period of time. That can we call for a motion to adjourn?
Right here.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Okay,